Welcome to Through the Looking Glass.
Oh my god. So
Today's episode, our favorite and fun conspiracies. Do your thing, Russ.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Through the Looking Glass. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, share it with your friends. Join us on our adventure while we just talk about interesting and fun things in our culture. Yeah, I think I covered it all. Like, share, subscribe. Oh, follow us on and comment. Yes, because commenting now matters too.
Helps. Yes, it does.
Even if you don't like us, tell us we're stinky poo-poo pants. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter. We're going to be on Rumble here soon. Maybe TikTok.
I've already uploaded 3 episodes.
You have? Yeah. Oh, man, I am out of the loop. Well,
we are. Yay.
Don't forget to kick that like button in the front teeth.
Yes, don't forget.
And smash that Rumble button, as they want us to say. All right, let's get started.
All right, who wants to start it off?
I guess I'll start it off.
Go in a circle, one each.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, what is your guys' personal favorite conspiracy? Like personally.
Still thinking about that.
You didn't think of one yet?
There's so many good ones.
There really is.
I mean, obviously, one of my favorites that's been a favorite for a while
Birds aren't real.
It's 9/11. Birds aren't real is definitely in my top 3 for sure. But 9/11, I mean, we all grew up through 9/11. I feel like that is probably the biggest major conspiracy of our whole life. So I won't get much into the conspiracy right away. We'll save that for a little bit later in the episode. But I mean, as far as favorites, that's it. Another one, of course, birds aren't real. You know, I mean, why do you think these pigeons are always on the power lines? And number 3, even though I don't believe it, I've not been convinced, but flat Earth, the whole flat Earth, and we're in a dome and there's an ice wall. It's one of my favorite conspiracies simply for the fact that it's entertaining. Hearing some of the people try to come up with reasons why we're on a flat Earth. People that have tried to debunk it have actually proven that we're on a round Earth. And the other reason it's one of my favorites because it's one that if we're ever by some miracle proven true that somebody could factually prove we're on a flat Earth, I would never believe any mainstream anything ever again.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, for sure.
Somebody live streamed themselves walking off the edge of the Earth.
Yeah, for real. That'd be wild.
It'd be terrifying, actually.
They wouldn't be able to walk off the edge.
Oh, they'd have to climb up the ice walls first.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And then fight also the weird arachnids up there, too, that are guarding the portals.
Giant spiders
and the
Yeti.
I would say my favorite, it's, Graham Hancock's. I just recently figured out about this like a year ago, but it absolutely makes sense. Like, thinking back about history classes and to think that we used purely mechanical leverage for no reason at all to create these giant monolithic structures in Egypt. Even now that we started doing LiDAR scans of the Amazon in South America, where we've now found, I think, 11 pyramidical structures around the globe, all dating around the same time, kind of sounds like there was a global civilization and something happened, especially with the evidence that has come forward and that all biblical texts have said there was a flood and the evidence of such a flood. Maybe, perhaps there was, and it wiped out the last civilization.
Well, there's multiple civilizations that have talked about it as a storytelling.
Storytelling in every biblical text, they talk about a flood right around the same time. We have evidence of water erosion around the Sphinx, through the Grand Canyon in Arizona. There's just so much evidence to support that there was some kind of advanced civilization. There's, I can't remember the name of it, but there's a road submerged in
Bimini
water. Bimini Road in the Bahamas, where these giant concrete slabs are just perfectly rectangular.
And lined up perfectly too, if I remember right.
And some of the Aztec pyramids in South America. There was another gentleman on Joe Rogan who actually said he went down there, and the way that it was geometrically constructed, a person without a boom microphone or bullhorn could stand at the peak, whisper, and people at the back
Thought they were yelling.
could still hear them as if they were talking normally.
Oh, I have not heard that
Yeah,
yet.
it's crazy to think that.
The acoustics on some of those places are insane.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I believe that there was, and this is my favorite conspiracy, that there was a great civilization. We maybe have uncovered some of their technologies, but it's being hidden from us because why not? Why not control the future of humankind?
Yeah, exactly, which is not far-fetched.
Yeah.
Also, too, like just some of the depictions in drawings from multiple ancient cultures where
bicycles, helicopters.
they depict there's a
things.
creature carrying, like a person carrying some strange bag, and that's said or theorized to be
And like pictures
the creator
of
of
watches.
societies or whoever helps usher societies along.
That reminds me, I think there was a some kind of jade bracelet, and it has such precision drilling in it. In the time in which we believe that jade bracelet was constructed, around 9,000 years ago, there's no evidence to support that they had any way to drill these holes in this bracelet, other than through advanced mechanical means.
Right, exactly. That would be
Unless,
the other way.
you're willing to let a piece of jade sit under dripping water for 45 years, which
That doesn't make any
No.
sense.
no.
That's more plausible.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, just talk to the some of the structures still in Egypt where it clearly looks like some kind of giant claw or saw that was, cutting these megalithic structures out of the granite and limestone. It's just doesn't make no sense. But I want to learn more about that, and I think it's very plausible. Especially with human beings, we've been on this planet for around 200,000 years, and just in the last 6,000, we've made leaps and bounds in technology. Nah, I don't think so.
Jesse,
It's because of coffee.
Oh, yes, coffee and cocaine. That's right. That opens the mind. Yeah.
Jesse, what's yours?
Mine would be anything that has to do with Hollow Earth, lizard people, mole men, Agartha, the underground path in Antarctica to get you there. Anything to do with that. It's just
Agartha. Explain Agartha to me, because that's new to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I don't know much about it.
Oh, okay.
It's-
Okay, fair enough. That almost reminds me too the Bermuda Triangle and stuff like that as well on the planet. And isn't there a
Dragon's
Triangle?
Triangle over in the Japan area.
What triangle in Japan?
They call it the Dragon's Triangle. It's over near Japan. It's very similar to the Bermuda Triangle.
Where
over
people just
here.
like randomly disappear.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
out of thin air.
interesting.
It's interesting. But the Hollow Earth one, that's one of my favorite ones too, because it does make a lot of sense. There's beings underground and they can possibly just show up.
Well,
But obviously there's no evidence yet fully.
the only evidence to suggest anything of a hollow earth is Admiral Byrd's journal or diary from his trip to, I believe it was the South Pole, where he claims there was this giant hole at the South Pole, and something, according to him, sucked him in to this hole. And when he was sucked in and ended up being down in the hollow earth, there was basically these beings that would, the way he describes it, look like the Aryan race, tall, blonde hair, blue eyes. And according to his accounts, they told him, and I believe this was prior to World War II, maybe shortly after. I'd have to look up the timeline of that again. But they said to him to not, or warned him to, tell everybody on the surface to not use nuclear weapons on this planet, because the nuclear weapons would also harm them down there. So it's very interesting. It's definitely an interesting theory that the Earth is hollow. However, if the Earth is hollow, I feel like that would almost negate the flat Earth theory. Could the Earth be both flat and hollow? It would make more sense for the Earth to be hollow if it was round.
Well, if it was flat, it would just be,
It could be a couple
we're
miles
on this
down.
side and they're on this side.
But that still doesn't make any sense.
I mean, if what we are on is flat, there's a good chance that it could have been constructed So artificial gravity, which there may be evidence to suggest that different governments around the world do have their hands on such technology. From Bob Lazar, he had an interview with Joe Rogan where he talked about how he had intimate contact with such a device that gave off anti-gravity. So if a species, being, or civilization had that kind of technology to manipulate anti-gravity to create a false gravity field, they could easily make it on a grand scale. Damn. So it could be kind of like we're one half of the same coin. We're on the top,
there's
on the bottom.
Holes that are 20 miles deep.
There are some. I do know, of course, this is the Russian government, so who knows? They did drill a hole a little over 2 miles, but then they said once they got that deep, it started melting the equipment because it was just too hot. But there's a large cave system in China that was discovered, and they say it was hand-carved, but it's massive. And then we have the catacombs in France, which still people have no idea, but it's terrifying.
So my question with the hole in Russia is, if it got too hot because of the core of the Earth as they were boring down,
it was only about 2 miles.
Then there's absolutely, I feel like no way that the hollow Earth theory could be true, because if the core of the Earth is beginning to become too hot to bore down any further, then how is there any civilization living within the Earth with that kind of heat?
They got used to it.
But this is Russia, and it was, the government said this, and I don't care what government you are. I'm not going to trust her.
Is it possible that they were saying it got too hot because they came across something they don't want us to know?
For sure.
Possible.
Just like...
That's how my brain thinks, I guess.
I think it was up near the North Pole. Just a couple of years ago, they found an underwater lake. This is another Russian story.
That you couldn't even go in?
They found an underwater lake, and they dug into it. And when they finally breached it to get to this underwater lake, they sent a team of scientists. And there's a story behind it where they actually found a creature. The creature ended up killing one of the scientists and it's really, really cool. I'll have to find it again.
So the only part of the story I heard...
It's been untouched by nature in almost 100,000 years. Wow. Because it's just been blocked off from all contact.
Oh,
it's pretty dope.
So the only part of that story that I've really heard about this underwater lake is that it was so dense that when they tried to send the unmanned submarine into it, it just bounced right off.
Oh my goodness!
That it was too dense for the submarine to actually enter, and it just kept it basically bounced right off and couldn't enter this water.
It was dense. What kind of water would this be? It sounds like almost chemical water.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know the science behind it either, but there are other examples in the ocean where there's freshwater pockets underneath salt water. It's it's really cool.
Oh wow, I never knew that was okay.
Which really makes you, I feel like knowing that makes you kind of question the Great Flood stories, because I feel like for those freshwater pockets to be there, then at some point the ocean and the salt water that's in the ocean wasn't there. And then all of a sudden it came in maybe real fast and just covered up these freshwater areas. Again, I don't know much about it. That's why I'm just asking the question.
We definitely have to dive into a little bit further. But I just think there's so much evidence of water erosion around the world that suggests, and just biblical texts, Well, of course.
Fossils of sea creatures on mountaintops.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's a very good one.
Crabs climbing Mount Everest.
There was another guy. He's also been on Joe Rogan's podcast. I want to say in Alaska, where he's been digging up bones for the last 20 years on his property.
What kind
he's
of
been
bones?
sleuthing runoff, which is basically just land that quickly somehow got whooshed into a spot.
Yeah.
And it created a pocket where his land is. There's a small pocket. So when water would rush in, it would drop off sediments. And he's just been, I think he's uncovered almost 1,000 mammoths. There's human. They've found saber-toothed tiger, mammoths, dog, buffalo, all kinds of crazy stuff on his property. Yeah. Pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool.
I know there's evidence of the flood, and they talk about it in Graham Hancock's show. It's the last episode. Sorry.
Don't tap the table.
I know, I keep
Put it down.
forgetting. I'm sorry. But they in Washington, there's this place where they think all the ice had broken off and like rushed through the lands, and on the land there, you can see waves, like there was waves of water on the land. So I find that a little interesting when it comes to the Great Flood.
A lot of interesting stuff. The Younger Dryas, where
Mm.
there's evidence of a meteor impact, which could have struck a polar ice cap, which would explain a lot of, water quickly evaporating or melting fast enough. The evaporation would then turn into a cloud, which would then form a massive storm cloud, which then travels around the world, dropping off pockets of water, mass floods, and then a tidal wave of just superheated, quickly melted ice would then cause a catastrophic wave. Plus, the impact of the meteorite itself would cause a wave.
Oh, absolutely.
So maybe okay, so this is my theory behind it, and I really like it. An ancient civilization knew an asteroid was coming. There was nothing they could do to stop it. So they did whatever they could. They created a false flag operation to say, retribution is coming. It's the end. The wealthy and the smart ones built these temples around the world to protect themselves from the flood, letting everybody else die. They knew it was coming. It hit. Thousands of years later, they emerge. That's where some biblical texts then start picking up, where saying a figure out of nowhere arrived on a vessel with snakes as oars, which that could be a paddle boat or an engine. And these people who were nomadic and didn't even know how to till land suddenly, in just a couple of years, became cultivators of the land and knew how to raise cattle and cook food and stuff.
Grow crops.
Because a mysterious being came and gave them this technology. Well, I mean, if there was ancient civilization of smart people who had this information, emerged out of the ground finally, well, yeah, they got to rebuild Earth.
Yeah.
So one of the Native American tribes out in more west, I can't remember if it's the Hopi, the Navajo, but they actually believe that they are descendants of ancestors who came up from the ground, that these ant people came up from underground and created their society or their civilization.
I mean, I guess that would make a lot of sense.
I mean, if you want to think about it, if you say if it's true that they knew that there was some kind of asteroid coming from space or from the sky that was going to wipe everybody out, it almost seems like the most logical thing to do is try to build shelter underground, especially if that asteroid, like you said, causes some giant cloud that like covers most of the planet. It's going to blot out the sun for a little bit. So you're not going to have that either. So it seems like the most logical thing at that point would be to dig underground and try to create society there, kind of like Mohenjo-Daro. I think it was Mohenjo-Daro. What's the place called in Turkey?
I keep forgetting the name of it, to be honest with you. I should have wrote that one down.
That's okay.
But think about human technology right now. Where do we keep the most destructive forces on the planet? Underground silos. That's where we keep all of our nukes.
Right.
Where are bomb shelters? Underground. Also, it seems like humans kind of have this thing where safe is underneath.
Well, it makes sense because the ground is so thick. Plus, we also have cave systems that goes underground.
So that kind of ties into the idea that there's extraterrestrials on many, many planets, but that they actually live inside each planet, which would mean each planet would be like hollow. There'd be hollow Mars, hollow Earth, hollow Venus, all these hollow planets, and they're living inside of them. There's also, I believe, the theory that there's beings living inside of the moon, and that's where the moon creatures are living inside of it, almost like the moon is like a Death Star, and where we landed was just on the outside, but all these beings are living inside, monitoring Earth from this giant ball.
I'd have to see some stuff about these moon creatures.
Well, there's some people that say the moon's just a hologram.
I don't know if I can believe it. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
I actually had that written down
That's a
as
difficult
one of the
one.
conspiracy theories I'd never believe.
They've actually been. It's very strange.
Is that part of the flat Earth theory? May I ask real quick? Sorry,
I don't
Ross.
No,
know. I
you're
have
Oh,
idea. No, I
okay.
think
So I
they
think
think
the-
the moon's a disc too.
Yeah, well, I
okay.
think the flat earthers think the moon is a light very similar to the sun, and that's how we get our light at night.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, they basically say it's like a mirror, right? Where
like a
it does reflect the light.
No,
but
they
because of
don't. They don't believe the moon is a mirror, but that the moon itself actually is a source of light, just like the sun.
On its own.
Interesting.
If there's any flat earthers out there that are watching this, get a hold of us. We want you on this podcast. We want to talk to you. We want to. We want to debate you, and we want you to
Maybe
try
not
to
debate,
convince.
but
we want
definitely
you to
listen.
we want you to try to
listen.
convince us that the Earth is flat. I will stay open to it. I will not make fun of you. But as of now, I've yet to hear any good, compelling arguments. People tell me they have them all the time, but yet still can't compel me. So
I definitely just want to
interested.
know what might have turned you. Like, what made you believe that
This,
Earth is possibly flat?
I can't do it.
Here's
I
a
can't.
Maybe I just
question.
want to go against the grain.
Here's a
Could be.
question I pose. If the Earth is flat and space is fake and we can't get to space because there's a firmament, explain why astrophotographers are now dealing with all kinds of pollution from the satellites we have sent into space. Because you're using a long exposure when trying to get astrophotography, and you can actually see these satellites coming through the photo, and it leaves some nasty pollution in the photos.
Don't they just say that
what about
the
these
satellites are still within the firmament? It's inside the dome. still.
But wouldn't we see them if that's the case? Because we can't see them.
No, they'd be
I
so
actually
high,
just
you
saw
wouldn't be
the
able to see 'em.
explanation from this is that it is so far away that, I mean, even though a satellite could be huge, bigger than this portion of the building, right? It's so far away. It's like trying to look at a grain of sand a mile away. It's dumb.
Okay,
It's
so
just
here's
not
here's another. I'll put them in check. I won't say checkmate, but I'll put them in check. if they are underneath the firmament, as they claim that the moon and the sun are underneath the firmament, how do they not collide with the moon and the sun? Are they lower, higher?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense either.
There's a lot of. I got questions, man. Like the Starlink satellites, like you can see this long train of satellites, and it looks kind of ugly in photography.
Yeah.
Like I love
And,
astrophotography,
I mean-
but with these satellites completely destroying it, it does look kind of ugly.
And they would have to convince me.
I mean, I've even
about
heard,
Mars.
I've even heard the
So
argument
that's,
that everything is stationary and that like stuff doesn't even spin around the Earth. Well, then explain when you take these long exposure, like all night long videos or photos of the stars trying to do astrophotography. Why is there that spinning of all the stars?
Yeah,
Like,
they all rotate.
that was a horrible argument that I heard the one time about nothing spins, that everything is stationary, and I can't even remember what their argument was for what the stars were.
So if they're stationary, then how do we get total eclipse? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like if the moon and the sun
You
are
got a
both,
lot of explaining to do with flat earthers.
if
Help
the
me
moon-
A
out.
lot of explaining.
If the moon and the sun are both the same distance up in the sky, wouldn't they collide during a solar eclipse and not like cover one another? Or I don't know, just
It's one of those things where
Doesn't make sense
the
to me.
two
I want-
balls are just barely touching, kind of.
yeah.
I
I
just-
want someone to come on and try to have that theory make sense to me.
Yeah,
like I
for
said,
sure.
I'll stay open to it all day, but nothing's convinced me.
I'm pretty stubborn, so it takes a lot of hard work.
We never got to your favorite theory.
Oh my goodness, I don't think I have one. Genuinely.
What?
I know. I wanted to ask you guys that. If I have my favorite one, the one we were just talking about, to be honest, and same with 9/11, because that was something we all experienced when we were kids. So
How old were we all?
I was in 3rd grade.
Oh, the-
I was
Yeah?
in 7th.
Yeah, I think I was 6th or 7th grade.
And
Yeah, I remember getting pulled out of school, and then
I was lucky. I was actually already home, had a doctor's appointment, so my mom kept me at home. But
Okay.
I heard it in
did
the
she
car.
put the news on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty scary.
Yeah, I
put
was
the
like
news on
11.
in the classroom.
I think I was 11
Yeah.
or 12 years old at the time.
And I do remember that day, most of our EMTs and fighter fighters, they went down to the city to go
Yeah.
home.
Man, that was
That was scary.
so many people died.
That was terrifying, actually.
I do have a question. Maybe you know Adam or Jesse as well. that infamous little short video of George W. Bush in the classroom when somebody walks up to him and he was that when he was told that one of the towers was just struck?
I believe
Where
so.
he's just got this
That was
look
his-
of absolute dread.
My
Of
question
what?
is
But-
like, how did they happen to be video recording this man as they were telling him what was going on?
Yeah.
It was a special event. He visited a class.
Coordinated
Was
at the same exact time that these attacks happened?
Well, it was because so his wife, every first lady has like some kind of goal that they want to do.
Mhm.
Hers was the no child left behind.
Yeah.
So I think the idea behind that was he was kind of sitting in to a classroom to, I don't know, do some kind of photo opportunity for this is what my wife's going to be doing, the No Child Left Behind, where we're going to be tackling the school education and things like that. And it was just timely.
I've seen that video and it didn't seem like he gave much emotion at all.
Really?
He seemed kind
Really?
of stone-faced.
When I seen him,
like he
he
wasn't
was
surprised
like
at all.
he was uninterested in what was going on in the classroom, and then when he gets tapped on the shoulder and whispered to, it just looked like his face went, like,
my country.
what do I do? He looked
Good actor.
absolutely mortified.
It seemed like bad acting.
Yeah,
Yeah?
I'm with Jesse.
I haven't
Bad
seen this video. I don't remember.
We'd
watching
have
it.
to pull it
Because
up.
here's another conspiracy that I kind of believe, and I guess I could almost throw it in my favorites, that the whole world is a stage. Everything we see on the news is fake. And
It is entertainment.
Exactly.
It's
All of the
considered
world leaders
entertainment.
are kind of interconnected with each other.
Mhm.
Yeah, it does
Yeah.
make sense.
Well, when
again,
you're
I'm not saying
powerful
I
and
fully
wealthy,
believe it, but
so.
it's definitely an interesting one that the whole world is a stage and everything they present to us on the news is just fake. It's scripted. It's there to manipulate our minds and our emotions, and that does make a lot of sense because it's very easy to make the American public emotional or get their mental state going a little crazy by things that are being reported on the news. And I will gladly go ahead and say this about former President Trump. The news made people so much more hateful of that man and made his presidency so much worse. I've heard people say that he was divisive, but the news was also divisive during
And they
his
made him look
presidency.
orange.
Yeah, they did. They purposely did. So
I've heard
my
that,
thing
but
when you were just talking about the news, I just thought about this is the news is a stage, and if it's not a part of the narrative, then they're not going to talk about it.
Mhm.
So the thing that we should be looking for as people who are trying to stay awake and informed is if they're willing to take something down in such urgent and drastic measures, that's what we need to be paying attention to. Mr. Laptop.
Yeah, I still got to look into that laptop.
Oh, that's
Wait, I'm a little lost.
Biden's laptop.
the website.
Biden's laptop.
The website is Biden.digital. Have fun. It's about 1,000 pages of what is allegedly found on his laptop with corresponding evidence with Joe Biden's history and politics. And
Is there a highlight reel so I don't have to go through 1,000 pages?
I mean, you just go to Biden.digital, not .com, nothing extra. Biden.digital. Just flick your finger and page 111 and just read it. Flick your finger again, page 452. Read
Are there
it.
specific pages that are good?
No.
Oh, you're just
It-
kidding.
It just
I
Different
flicked.
pictures and
I went to right around 400s because I just looked and I was like, wow, 1,000 pages. I went to around the 400s. I think when I got around 460 something is when they got towards Ashley Biden's diary.
oh,
who's
I-
Ashley Biden? Is that his daughter?
Yeah.
Man, that's I didn't even know he had a daughter.
I think
It history with his daughter. Another news organization supposedly had the diary, so the FBI came, raided the house, and took the diary.
oh my
I
goodness.
wonder why they would do that.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if you hear a story and then you hear, oh, that's fake news, it's been debunked, fact checkers, and then the story gets covered
Who
and
fact checks the fact checkers?
Yeah.
Oh, I hate fact checkers.
if the story gets buried,
If something's
that's
1% off,
probably
they'll
that's
say false.
probably the story you need to look at. Chances are that's the one they're trying to hide. It's wild.
Yeah, our story will be something like, oh, Biden does this last Wednesday, and they're like, no, actually, it was Tuesday. You're wrong. It's like, well, he did it.
And some people won't even read the full fact check to see why it's wrong. They'll just see that the fact check says false, and they'll be like, oh no, it's false. Well, it's only false because somebody got one minor little detail
they're
wrong.
10 minutes off.
Yeah.
Some fact checking is terrible. I do like Twitter's community notes because it is based on like polling data, really. So they'll have hundreds, if not thousands, of people fact checking it on the spot, and then a group collaborates together to then pull these fact checks, and then does their own fact check and then says, okay, this is what we found. Sometimes it can be a little meh, but most of the time community notes is pretty good. But yeah, fact checkers on like Facebook. I actually haven't seen a fact check in quite a while on Facebook.
I feel like everything's been kind of quiet at the moment.
Probably because they just outright censor everything, so there's no point.
That is true.
Coming into
I
an
haven't been
election,
seeing a lot of different stuff on Facebook.
Coming into an election year, I feel like things are definitely going to ramp up.
Things are definitely heating up
for sure.
If there is even an election,
that could
That's
be
a possibility.
Don't say that.
Future conspiracy theory prediction right there that there won't be an election. I mean, I've heard several people say such, but I feel like there's probably been people that have predicted that in the past as well.
Because if we go into World War III before,
which is definitely a possibility,
right? Then he can just
stay
in as president.
I feel like that should not.
Until the conflict is
resolved.
And if it's
the War Times Act,
I forgot what it is.
I believe it's called the War Times Act. I'm probably wrong, but I believe it's the War Times Act. In grave circumstances, like if the United States is dragged into a war, we can't switch presidents. So it's like the one in charge stays.
If we get dragged into a war, my honest opinion is we should probably change presidents immediately and get someone who can better deal with this conflict.
Especially since we had a guy that literally didn't start any new wars and actually was proposing peace in the Middle East, but now we have the thing with Palestine and Israel. He also crossed the DMZ, which is the first president, the demilitarized zone into North Korea without protection. And he wasn't
buddy with Kim Jong-un.
He didn't cause any problems with Russia or anything.
Call him
Is he the absolute best president we ever had? No.
He's definitely better than who we have in there. And this is somebody. This is coming from somebody who is not a Trump supporter.
And I was a Bernie bro.
And me too.
I was a Bernie bro.
I was too.
I liked Bernie until he
Bernie.
Until Hillary kind of flopped him over. But then Trump was not that bad, man. It really wasn't.
Like I said, it was the news that really made his presidency much worse. And this is where I love using the term parrot over sheep. People that are parrots just parrot what the news says about somebody.
Because parrots are intelligent.
Yeah, but parrots don't. They can't speak for themselves. They just repeat what other people are saying, and that's exactly what people. That's what people do with the news. They just parrot what they're hearing other places rather than thinking and speaking for themselves. The news said I should hate Joe Rogan and think Joe Rogan's an idiot because he took ivermectin.
Because he took horse dewormer.
Boom.
Which reminds me, I did want to mention that too in my other conspiracy theory. I definitely want to talk about that one.
We can't.
Nope.
Oh, we can't?
We're not talking about that one.
Oh.
Only on Rumble. We cannot talk about Kofifi.
Can I ask why?
YouTube does not allow it.
That is insane to
It's
me.
interesting.
I'd definitely like to keep this video.
He actually might be right about it's a parrot because even though parrots are intelligent, they don't have like instinctual intelligence.
That's true. They can't have a real conversation.
You can be a truly intelligent person, but if you go to college and get yourself indoctrinated to believe all these lies, sure, you're smart, but you're really dumb.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense.
It's just strange. Like I feel like Joe Rogan never got the hate and everything until the news began to tell people to dislike this man or to try to destroy him.
Reason.
Yeah. So that's why I started using the term parrot. And I've been guilty of it myself in the past, even with like different philosophies. I don't know if you know who Terence McKenna is. There was times in the past where I would just parrot things Terence McKenna said, and I didn't fully understand it until I got older and began to question some things. And it's like, okay, yeah, some of the stuff I do disagree with, but a lot of it I agree with. And that's being able to think and speak for yourself, not just Jordan Peterson's another one. I think that man is brilliant, and people just
absolutely brilliant.
People just parrot the he's a homophobe, he's a transphobe, he's whatever kind of bigot they want to call him. He's upholding the patriarchy, and it's
Nazi
like
sympathizers.
He is probably the healthiest way for men to tackle like issues.
Mm-hmm.
He has helped so many people. I admire that man.
Yeah.
He is fantastic. He's absolutely fantastic.
Like, he actually cares, though. That's why he's so
well,
good at his job.
Look at how many videos you've actually seen him like tear up talking about things because he's passionate about it.
Yeah, you can hear it in his voice
Yep.
too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's what it looks like to have a big heart, in my opinion.
Yeah. But yeah, like you were saying about Joe Rogan, it's very strange where, not everybody loved him, but if you were to talk to people about Joe Rogan, oh, you mean the dude from Fear Factor, the pothead comedian? Yeah, we loved him. But he took a medication that was prescribed to literally billions of people each year, and they started calling him a conspiracy theorist taking worm dewormer and edited the video to make him look like he was near death.
Oh yeah,
that's
made him green.
That's insane.
That's going above
like,
and beyond.
So
you are really twisting a fucked up narrative if that's how hard you have to go.
Yeah.
Ivermectin was hailed as a miracle drug when it first came out because of all the things it could help cure.
Some prize.
Yeah, some kind of prize.
Yeah, it's what else does it do? It's not just
it's
not just a horse dewormer, but it's used in like almost 1 billion cases a year of something.
I think it can be used as like an anti-parasitic, antiviral. I'd have to actually pull up
again.
everything that ivermectin can do, but
I think
I do clearly
Jesus.
remember reading that it was hailed as like a miracle drug when it first came out,
Yeah.
with very little side effects as well. The only time it's a horse dewormer is when it's taken in very, very high doses because horses are much bigger than us, so they need a lot more of it.
Which is logical.
Wild.
It's only horse dewormer when they give it to horses.
That's another solid. That's another solid
by
point,
definition. By definition.
Be careful laughing into the mic because it's extremely loud when you do that.
Okay.
Maybe in your headphones, but like I've said before, the episodes
spiked very high on here as well.
My bad.
Meh. I don't think we're gonna blow anybody's eardrums out. But to continue on to like just people being targeted, and when news says certain things, I think we've all seen that short video where somebody will collaborate 100 different smaller news outlets, and they're literally repeating the exact same script.
There's no nuance at all. It's all
Nothing.
the exact same script.
This is a threat to our democracy. A threat to our democracy.
Yeah.
A threat to our
I
democracy.
meant to bring that
We
up.
can't
earlier.
even call that a conspiracy because it technically is a conspiracy in a way, but like
Yes,
it's
because it's a
another
group of
Yeah,
people.
How
another true
could they
one.
ever explain
It's a
that?
group of people purposely like
and it's not even
doing something to
the news
affect
stations
people's
that are owned by
opinions.
one person.
it's all of them.
I believe
Yeah,
it's
all of them.
6 families and 6 corporations that own all of the media in this country. Not just news media, but like TV stations, radio stations, newspapers, everything that is media and that we get our information from is controlled by 6 families or corporations. That in and of itself should make you question a lot of the information in this world.
Yeah. It's weird. America was like kind of born under this hope of you would have freedoms of choice and things like that, and now it's just become
Now it's an illusion of choice.
It's an illusion. Yeah, it's the illusion of choice. It's wild. I think George Carlin even said that too, where there was once 7 oil companies, now there's 2, and when you go shopping, you feel you're given the illusion that you have a choice between what kind of donut, but it's just one donut in 14 different flavors, and it all is created by the same company. That's not choice.
It's kind of like
That's
coffee.
the illusion.
Kind of like coffee. You got 2 main coffee businesses. You got Starbucks. You got Dunkin'.
Oh, I actually just saw. I gotta fact check this.
Oh yeah, there's
I
Tim
just
Hortons
saw there
too.
was Is it Arby's? I think Arby's owns like 14 different chain restaurants.
Whoa.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it Arby's or is it like a parent company that owns Arby's that owns all those?
No, I think it's like Arby's got so big and they took all the right steps where they started buying all these smaller companies. Same
Let's
thing
find
with what is it? Pepsi bought KFC, Taco Bell, and Pizza Hut so that they wouldn't have to compete with Coca-Cola.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
100% correct.
That's why
Yep.
you see a Taco Bell KFC.
Yeah.
They didn't
And
want to
Pepsi-
own separate locations, so they combined them
to save money. And
Pepsi.
Pepsi products. Notice like
Yeah.
everywhere that's not KFC, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell all have Coke products. Coke is
Unless
everywhere
you're
except
a,
those places.
a small mom and
Then you
pop
get- you
shops.
get the
like if
choice.
you go locally around here, the like the Pudgies and stuff around here, they'll have Pepsi.
Yeah, they'll have everything.
No corporate chain has Pepsi.
Whoa.
They just don't.
Wow.
Yeah,
never-
it's the little
really?
things,
Mhm.
man. It's the little things.
I feel mind blown right now.
So
This kind of feels like it's turning a little bit into black pill stuff right now because it's
Arby's-
like, well, how are we going to fight this?
Can't
Arby's
Start
is-
talking about it. Start talking about it.
Arby's is owned by Inspire Brands,
And Inspire Brands
also owns Baskin Robbins,
So it is them.
Buffalo Wild Wings,
Whoa.
Dunkin' Donuts, Jimmy John's, Mr. Donut International, and Sonic Drive-In.
Yep. You know how weird it is
Wow.
to own
Dunkin' was your own
Arby's
thing.
and Jimmy John's? You own two sandwich places. Why? For the illusion of choice.
That is-
Jimmy John's is good.
Arby's.
Jimmy John's is good.
Never a big fan of Jimmy
It's a sandwich
John's.
joint.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're a little different, but
Sure.
sandwiches.
I mean, it's kind of like, oh, this company owns McDonald's and Burger King. It's
It's more
same
like just
thing.
meat on bread.
I find that so strange, but not strange.
Yeah, it
It's
doesn't
like-
surprise me.
Isn't the company that McDonald's gets its beef from called 100% beef, and that's how they
Yeah.
can advertise
and
that
that's
it's
a legal-
100%
it's
beef?
a legal
only
loophole.
Yep.
15, 20,
Made, what is it?
30,
Made,
something like that.
not made with, but made from
Made
100% beef.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the company
Because
is called
that's the name of the
100% beef.
company.
Yep.
I want to shake my head right now. What
But
is-
we all know it's pink goo.
Yeah, there's so many ways to get around things legally. There's so many loopholes.
Well, I feel like that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
It should be stopped.
I mean, just legal jargon over the last, 200 years, it's become ridiculous. We have the United States Constitution, right? It's one giant piece of paper. Sure, the language is a little hard to decipher if you're not used to it, but it's pretty plain and simple in a lot of its texts. But you look at laws that have been passed over the last 10 years, you've got a 500-page bill just to say you
You
can't
need
collect,
a lawyer
yeah,
that's well versed.
or you're not allowed to
decipher.
collect rainwater, and the law is 4 pages long.
Which is
Why?
The sad thing with some of these bills that are hundreds and hundreds of pages is they give the bills to our lawmakers 12 hours or less before they're supposed to make their decision and sign off on it or not. And most of them do not read through these bills.
They can't. Just
Exactly.
like the last national budget, it was over 5,000 pages. It was dropped off at 2 a.m. and they had 6 hours to decide. How?
that is
That's-
George.
How is Congress supposed to decide on that?
That's crazy.
in the
How
middle of
is
the night?
anybody? You cannot. I don't care who you are. You cannot read 5,000 pages in 6 hours.
I don't even think speed
So
readers
that's
can do that.
illegal. That should be illegal. You cannot do that.
Straight
I
to
agree.
jail. Straight to jail.
Straight to
Straight-
jail. I mean, sure, you could throw that into, I don't know, some kind of AI and try to ask it, explain this bill to a 6-year-old in less than 20 sentences.
AI, what do
Sure.
you expect Allen Iverson to do about it?
That's
Oh,
why I like MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, where she,
I don't mind her.
when
mind
she
I can't make an
was
opinion
asking
on
all
her.
the politicians, like, why aren't you even here doing your job? Like,
Yeah.
she was one of either herself or two people that were in Congress voting,
And that's
and
wild.
everyone
They
else
only,
was
they only
just-
work like 100 days a year. That's
if-
so dumb.
if that.
Yeah.
And
And
what
it's
They
the
get paid
weirdest
so
things too,
much.
because the way Congress works is they have to vote on what they're going to have for lunch. I don't know if it's like the United States Federal Congress, whatever, but like locals, even in our town, if they're sitting down and talking about budgets and stuff like that, if the session goes into like lunchtime and they decide to take lunch in the halls or whatever, they have to treat that as if it's the same thing. They have to yay or nay Subway. Why?
What's
You're wasting our money.
Definitely a nay on that one.
wasting time, in my opinion.
Yeah, wasting time, wasting our money.
Isn't our government really good at just wasting our money and
Yeah.
What's the purpose
using it
behind
on
it?
things they
Having less people in there to as a better chance to not leak information, or I don't
know either. I think there is a little bit of a gray area. Like if you have too few people making decisions, then you're more likely to make a bad decision because you don't have as many people to say, "Hey, no, that's a bad idea because this reason."
Well, yeah, that.
But if you have
be a
too
monarchy.
many, but then if you have too many people, then it's just
You're gonna have
you're
a lot
not
of bickering.
never going to get anything done.
Yep.
And
That's
I
why
think
the founding fathers had it. They had it pretty good.
They-
It's like one
they
person
did.
per 1,000 or something like that.
yeah, but if we were to do that now, you
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah,
Can't.
yeah, we have to fudge with the numbers a bit.
Yeah,
but-
there's still so many districts in like New York City, and even Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I think she has 400,000 constituents in her district. She's awful. She's been good on a few things, but I think she's just an awful human being.
Yeah.
It's terrible. She's taken fake photos to get photo opportunities. She refuses to listen to her own
Manipulative.
constituents. It's kind of wild.
Straight up lied.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one thing in a politician I can't stand is lying, and of course they
comes
all
with the
they
job.
all do it.
It's
I
part of
mean,
the
look
job.
at Biden. He's been lying since the beginning of his career. So, but yet people will.
Yeah, I never trusted a man with a mullet.
People will still go out and vote for this man, even after all the lies and all the blunders and everything. It's absolutely wild.
Well, that's how they win the hearts of America. Go the people.
Well, that's the thing. It's like Donald Trump. It's not like people voted for Biden. It's they voted Trump out.
They voted against him.
Yeah,
It was-
that was it.
it
It,
was
wasn't
anybody
because
but
Biden
Trump.
was fantastic. It's just that it couldn't be Trump.
Yeah, they weren't really
We
riding
can't.
with Biden. Nobody thought Biden would make a good
Yeah.
candidate. They were just like,
I
oh,
had one
he's
person
not Trump,
that I knew
so-
that actually posted that on Facebook.
But
or
it's
actually
like
read it,
yikes.
They were convinced that Trump was gonna bring us into World War III, and he was a Nazi and all this other
And
stuff.
now look who's close to bringing us into World War III.
Oh my!
Dun,
With
dun,
the
dun, dun,
failed
dun.
Afghanistan
Ugh.
withdrawal, that infuriated me. He got so many people killed.
Yep.
So many innocent.
You think that's the
civilians.
worst military blunder in history?
Absolutely.
Or pretty close to it?
At
Well,
least in-
Vietnam's pretty bad.
I'd
But
say at least
Vietnam was
in
bad.
our
It might
in
even
our
be worse than when
history.
Poland attacked themselves.
So I'd say maybe in our history, since we've been alive, that could be
Yes.
the biggest blunder
Yes.
for sure.
I mean,
For
we've
sure.
seen the videos of people jumping on the wheels of the plane to try to escape from being
Yeah.
beheaded.
That's terrible.
And we left
I have not seen
40?
those yet.
Terrible.
$40 million worth of equipment.
No, like it was way more than that.
Yeah,
Oh my
it's been a
I think it
lot.
was
God.
like 400.
We left
million.
everything. All of our guns. I think we took the ammunition. We left all of our guns. We left all of our Humvees, some tank equipment.
Yeah.
And now it's in the hands of Al Qaeda, who are either going to repurpose it or
Well,
sell it.
When
Okay,
did
so
this?
that's actually what our military does every time we're overseas is we leave things there because it's actually
but we decommission it, don't
it's
we?
it's cheaper to just leave it there and get new shit when we get home than it is to ship everything back home.
Understandable, but we should.
So, like-
we would still decommission it. Like,
So like when I was in
like,
Iraq,
destroy the stuff.
when I was in Iraq, the Iraqi police used to bring weapons caches to where I was working. When they would find these weapons caches on the side of the road during raids, whatever, they'd bring it to us. And so many of these caches were American-made C4, American mortar rounds, like. And where'd they get all this stuff? From Desert Storm when we were over there the first time. Because we just left everything because it was cheaper. So you're just leaving shit where the enemy is. That just doesn't seem
Sounds
safe
like
or
we
smart.
need to stop intervening.
Yeah, leave people alone.
Yeah, I've always thought America should stop trying to play world police.
But you think to a degree, right?
Obviously, if there are, I feel like atrocities happening where, there's genocides or something like that happening,
Yeah.
then I think countries that are able to get involved and maybe help and save innocent people, yes. But as far as us trying to give countries doses of democracy,
Nah, that's not our business.
Not our business.
But if there's like a legitimate threat, China's knocking out our doorstep or something, say, where we are legitimately looking at China trying to take over the world and we're just sitting back as an isolationist country. No, we can't do that. But we should not be sending troops to Afghanistan to give them freedom and democracy. That's not our decision.
Or spending more money on war material when we could be helping out the homeless.
Absolutely. And our own veterans.
Yep.
What we do to our veterans is disgusting.
It's
disgusting.
It's basically shameful.
It is.
How they treat them.
We treat them like they're trash.
Our government doesn't really care about veterans. They only care about them when they're a number to the government and when the government can use them. And then once the government has used them all up, it's like, oh, okay, you're on your own now. We'll give you a little bit of help and make it seem like we care, but not really.
So basically like pawns on a chessboard.
Absolutely.
Sad.
All right, what's the next conspiracy?
Let's do another one.
Yeah, we were.
That one was
I mean,
we're still diving into conspiracies.
I got a list right here of 12 that have actually turned out to be true, and
let's run through the 12.
We can go through and talk about those one by one. And the very first one, I don't know if you guys have heard about this. It's called the Dead Baby Project.
No, I've not have.
That's a lovely name. I think they should stick with that.
Please explain.
This conspiracy is the government was stealing dead bodies to do radioactive testing from after we dropped the nuclear bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So the truth of this one is the government was stealing parts of dead bodies because they needed young tissue. They recruited a worldwide network of agents to find recently deceased babies and children and then take samples and even limbs, each collected without notification or permission of the more than 1,500 grieving families.
Excuse me, what?
So basically,
what were they doing to it?
Just taking body parts and tissue to measure the radioactivity over time without permission from the families or anything. Just taking them to do studies.
To basically find out how long radioactive material will last inside organic tissue.
And what it actually does, because that's the first time they've ever
done that.
People with that.
That's disgusting.
Let me see if I can find the actual name of this one.
Didn't the creator of those bombs regret, especially after that war?
Yes, Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I forgot his name.
That's another movie I want to watch is Oppenheimer.
So do I.
Oh, is that what that movie was about?
He was also he's also the one who was quoted, "I am become death."
Yes, that one.
Yeah,
so this one,
it's awful. Like he had other purposes for it, but the U.S. government was like, "No, this can be a weapon."
And they do this with every time something new is created, and it drives me absolutely up a wall.
Well, like look at nuclear reactors. It's such clean energy unless obviously something bad happens and there's a destruction of the reactor. But other than that, it as of right now, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that like some of the cleanest energy on the planet?
It's the absolute cleanest with the highest output.
Yep.
Very little effort input, and it's just megawatts. And the only biomaterial that is left behind is water, and it's perfectly safe water. We could recycle water.
Oh my god.
So the actual name of the Dead Baby Project, for anyone that wants to Google it and look into it, it was called Project Sunshine.
Well,
what a lovely name.
They always do that.
Yeah, I know.
They make it seem harmless.
Yeah, like the Patriot Act.
Yeah.
I find that
or what's the new one, the Safe Act?
Oh, jeez.
Is that the one I'm thinking of, or is it the Restrict Act?
And then you got
both. There was the Safe Act and the Restrict Act.
I have not heard that one.
The Restrict Act was the new one that
signed off on it too.
Yeah, the Restrict Act was the one that was just recently shut down, where it was gonna again basically offer the government more control over our personal lives.
Oh, over the internet, they were.
Yes, yeah. Basically, offering them more protections under Section 230.
No, just keep your nose away from
that. Would have been horrible if they.
We wouldn't even be having these conversations right now. We'd probably be in jail.
Oh my! Oh.
I mean, a lot of people would be in jail over it. So.
I mean, I under that Restrict Act could end up getting thrown in prison for having NordVPN on my phone.
Yeah.
They wanted to make VPNs illegal.
Yep, and up to 20 years in prison for having one too.
Which is wild.
I think
Crazy.
That's so.
Because aren't we allowed like our privacy? But not on the internet. Not on the
so.
internet.
We've
But
lost-
big corporations.
We lost a
are
lot of
allowed
our privacy after 9/11.
We sure
Yeah,
did.
we sure did.
Yep. The Patriot Act.
I love it. They
That's-
made it sound so.
That was probably
Patriotic.
part of the reason they did it too.
And it was for our safety, so we could spy and monitor on terrorists who maybe want to attack America.
And I think they've
But
found
that's how it
zero
always starts.
in the
Yeah.
what 20 years since it.
No, I think
22
there was
years
like
since it happened?
13 maybe.
No, I think it was 0 or 1.
But yeah, it got turned against the American people, just like
Yep.
all of these things should have timelines, like the Patriot Act. If somewhere like, I don't know, maybe fine print, it says, if nothing substantial comes from this within the next X amount of years, this gets shut down. So if you're correct and nothing has come of this, of foreign adversaries trying to commit terroristic acts over the last 10 years, why does it still exist? So they can spy on us.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
Well,
It's not okay.
Well, anytime they talk about this is for your safety, you just know more of your freedoms being
Yeah.
taken away. At this point, it's clear. We're not stupid.
It's definitely one of those things where they say, well, don't you want to be safe?
Like seatbelts.
The government's not going to keep me safe.
No, they
Get
don't-
out of here.
They don't give a shit.
Just like
They've only got their own interests in mind.
absolutely.
Exactly.
Just like it has been argued in a court of law that police, they have no duty to protect you as a citizen. So if shit,
like when they stood by and watched somebody get beat to
yeah,
death or
they
something like
actually have no duty. If a police officer sees you being assaulted, they don't have a duty to intervene. They wait until it's over and then they arrest the
or you.
yeah, and then they
That's
arrest
happened.
somebody.
Well,
That's it.
Jeez, I'm
So-
glad I have self-protecting
yeah.
tools right now.
So when shit hits the fan and you call the police, they're gonna tell you, "Oh well,"
that is
just like they did during the riots in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
People were calling 911 and they were saying, "Oh well,
that
there's nothing we
is-
can do."
That's why you've got to learn to protect yourself.
I feel like I want to cry, and not like
Sorry,
purposely.
we're blackpilling Erica.
It's just that's really sad. Like this whole
It
time,
is.
I keep thinking they're here to protect us, even though they're really not. But it's just
No.
even
But that's
sadder
the thing.
to hear that.
We were always meant to protect ourselves. Like
Right.
that's a part of our Constitution. That's why we have the Second Amendment, so
Thank
that
God.
we can protect ourselves. Because you can't count on other people.
No,
You can only count on yourself, your family, and possibly
Yeah, I was
a small
thinking
community.
I was gonna say
That's
a
it.
tribe of people.
You
Gotta
cannot
give somebody to look at.
you
Somebody
cannot
to
account
look at.
for people that are 30 minutes away that have no idea who you are to come risk their life for you. It's-
Yeah.
Why?
I'll risk my life for somebody if they make me tacos.
Oh, tacos! A taco a day keeps the demons away.
Damn right. I want to throw a shout out to Hellfire and Whiskey Company. This is a free shout out.
Oh, a pretty
That's
dope phone.
move your microphone a little because it's just spin it over. Yeah, there you go. So that shirt was made by Hellfire and Whiskey Company here in Elmira, New York. They're also one of the booths up at the Wicked Realm Film Festival.
Oh,
Give them
yeah,
another
that's some
shot.
Cool stuff.
Shout out. So that's where that shirt came from. I think she makes some awesome clothing. So there's a free shout out for another local company.
Definitely my favorite shirt, by the way.
All right, so the next conspiracy on the list that turned out to be true was bad booze. During Prohibition, the conspiracy during Prohibition, the government poisoned alcohol to keep people from drinking it. The truth, crazy conspiracy theories almost always suggest the government is behind it all. And they were right again on this one. Manufacturers of industrial alcohol had been Manufacturers of industrial alcohol had been mixing their products with dangerous chemicals for years prior to Prohibition, but between 1926 and 1933, the federal government pushed manufacturers to use stronger poisons to discourage bootleggers from turning the alcohol into moonshine. That didn't stop the bootleggers or their customers, and by the end of Prohibition, more than 10,000 Americans had been killed by tainted booze.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of people, honestly.
Yep, which ties into a small conspiracy I have now. Obviously, there's no truth in it, but some of the newer drugs, like when Spice came around and was making people lose their shit. And right now, Trank going around Philly and places in California and in Seattle and in Portland. Trank is some kind of like horse tranquilizer mixed with fentanyl, and it literally turns people into zombies, both the way they just stand there and can't move, and it begins to like eat their flesh at the sites that they're injecting it. So I often have been wondering, are one of the alphabet agencies behind putting that shit out on the streets, the CIA, the FBI, very similar to the crack epidemic that the CIA helped create.
Yeah. And during MK Ultra, when they were using psychedelics and other drugs to just try to find if they could figure out a way to brainwash people. Like, the CIA has used drugs before. It's not outlandish to say that they're using drugs again. Absolutely. Why this organization is still allowed to operate in America? It's a terrorist organization.
Absolutely.
They're assaulting American citizens. For what purpose?
Instead of protecting us.
Russ is about to get a knock on his door tomorrow morning.
Maybe. Hey, so, let me make it clear. I do not want to unalive myself.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's a good point. I just want to say, I feel like Trank is a little scary because it's like 30 seconds in, you're done for. You're just zonked out.
That just sounds boring. I mean, I'm not trying to condone drug use at all. This is for informational purposes only. But when I do something, I want to enjoy it for hours.
And be
awake.
And
awake beforehand to see what it's
I want to be awake, alert, and I want to be feeling what I'm taking. I don't want to just fucking zonk out.
But isn't that kind of the...
But for
reason why some people take drugs?
Well, yeah, I was thinking of it differently, but like isn't that kind of the thing behind heroin?
Well,
kind of...
Yeah, you don't feel anything.
Well, yeah, but the problem, too, with a couple of the people who has taken Trank now, they said heroin doesn't even do shit.
Doesn't touch him?
Doesn't compare.
Now they need Trank, and Trank is getting so powerful, I feel like you're going to see a lot more people being like zombies or dead.
Yeah, they remind me of the nurses in Silent Hill. Where they just,
where
they just stand there.
Yeah.
I mean, the one lady that was interviewed by Mr. Oliveira there, she even told him, like, there's... Like, it hurts for me to even, like, try to lay my body out straight sometimes because of the way I've been standing for hours. Like,
so are these people, are they conscious?
No, they're, like, out of it, but it's so strange.
So they, like, go to sleep?
Yes.
Yeah, but yet they're standing up. It's so strange that their body doesn't fall over and it holds them up and they're just standing there out of it. Like, I'll stand up for the camera real quick. If the camera wants to see how these people stand, I'll do a quick little...
do it real quick. I was about to do it.
I've seen some of them, and I'm sure a lot of people...
Like, it's
they're
bad.
just standing...
Yep, and then when they almost fall over, they'll catch themselves.
And these places, too, it's like...
They're like that for hours.
It's just very tragic.
That's
Something
wild.
needs to be dealt with.
It's the entire street. You'll just see hundreds of people.
Oh, you know what? I've actually seen a recent one of this where it's kind of ironic. Dude behind the counter at work, he has a hoodie on that says heroin dealers are murderers.
Oh, yeah.
While he's fucking...
Yep.
No.
Hey, he might not be on heroin. He might be on this Trank or something with fentanyl in it.
Just be tired working 100
Absolutely
hours a week.
not. Absolutely not.
Oh,
That's...
man.
Yeah, there's a difference between somebody who's like tired nodding out and then opiate nodding out.
I was walking.
Big difference.
But see, that's the thing is, I mean, they did this in the 80s and 90s, and I'm sure there were people in the 80s and 90s who were sitting down talking about it, saying, hey, some strange dude in brown trench coats came to my door and said I could make millions off of this if I just sell it to people. And he just keeps showing up and giving me this stuff for free.
Yeah,
I feel like
if it's horse tranquilizer mixed with fentanyl, how is something like that?
So only at
people getting a hold of that?
Only at very high doses does it become a tranquilizer. At lower doses, it's like a muscle relaxer. But because I believe it's specifically for horses, even at low doses for humans, it's kind of like a tranquilizer. And that's why, like Erica was stating, within 30 seconds to a minute from injecting this, they're beginning to start passing out.
So to answer your question, Jesse, there are people who know doctors who literally hook them up to get certain supplies to make it.
So much for that Hippocratic oath.
Yeah. From my understanding from a video I had watched.
I think this is one of those things where 20 or 30 years from now, there's going to be a whistleblower with a redacted document that comes out and they say, oh, look, the government's doing this thing. And some of us are going to be like,
yeah, we know.
We know. We've been saying it.
We're not stupid.
Are we going to be those people?
Very possible, yeah.
Still doing a podcast into our 50s and 60s. And
Why not?
I told you about this. I fucking told you.
What'd you say? What?
No, not the shrimp fry.
Who you calling little guy?
Oh man, that's wild though. That it does feel like this has been going on for generations, and we just keep allowing it to happen.
Like, I often wonder how many different drugs the CIA has created that are just small derivatives. Like, there's so many research chemicals now. And it's funny, we had a friend like a decade ago tell us that drugs are changing and they're going to keep changing. And it's because people keep in labs making these little derivatives.
Imagine
and
what they
tweaking
do to
shit
marijuana. Imagine what they're going to do to weed.
Well, that's the spice products mainly. Is they tried to create these synthetic cannabinoids.
Is that like the 2K or whatever it was?
K2 and spice.
Yeah.
I'll admit to people right now, I was actually addicted to that while I was in the Marine Corps. You'd be shocked how many Marines are smoking that stuff because they can't smoke weed. And that's kind of why one of the reasons I ended up kind of popping on a piss test is I was like, all right, I got to get away from this stuff. And I smoked
that stuff was fine when weed wasn't?
Yeah.
The K2 was not fine. It was legal, but it was fine and it wouldn't show up on a piss test.
Yeah,
you could go buy it at a gas convenience
stores,
gas
you doing
station.
it, but they couldn't tell if you were doing it.
Yeah.
Kind of like salvia. That was very weird. How
Salvia
that
is
was
terrifying.
Legal? Yeah, I've done
not
that
dangerous.
a couple times, and
It's not dangerous. It's just terrifying.
After the last time I did it, I felt
There
I guess-
is
I
a
guess
proper.
something changed.
I guess it
My
can
buddy
be
got heart
dangerous.
palpitations from smoking too much of that.
Oh,
He
shit.
said something.
Who in their right mind smokes too much salvia?
Oh,
I don't think I know anybody that likes that shit.
So check it out. We
That's all
had
I could
discovered not smoking it, but there's a different way of doing it. I don't think you're supposed to smoke it. I think you're supposed to chew on it.
Well, it's Terrence McKenna who actually talked about that down in somewhere in
Like
Mexico.
coca leaves?
No,
Yeah.
kind of like coca leaves, but down in Mexico where salvia is grown, I'm going to try not to butcher this. I believe they call it ojo de la pastora, which means eyes of the shepherdess. And that by ingesting it, like chewing on the leaves, you are seeing through the eyes of like the mother goddess of this planet, or like that's the eyes of the shepherdess, the one that's supposed to lead us to a good place.
Interesting.
So there's
It's been a while since I've looked into that, so I hope I got it all correct there.
I know this is going to sound silly, but there are certain chemicals out there which you should take properly. Like there's certain ways to do certain things, and I think smoking salvia is just it's
The wrong way.
yeah.
Too much, too fast,
Yeah.
too crazy. I got a wild salvia story. I won't get into it this episode, but
So do I. And
it's-
I think that
it's
really
wild
changed.
and terrifying. Like it scared me. Like it was when I was with Adina. I remember I went to Domino's, and when like I got to Domino's to pick her up, I was like, I just need a hug.
Oh
I
my
just
god,
need to-
he looked
I
terrified.
just need to know you're real right now. Like, it was terrifying. Long story short, I'll get into it in another episode, but long story short, I died anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000 times in 5 minutes.
It's awful.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I had a pretty rough one too. We'll definitely have to do an episode about like experiences for stuff like that. But
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
after the last time I did it, I did feel something had changed, and then I lost interest in even smoking marijuana.
Oh
And
wow!
I think that was a big change for me because I was smoking like every day with friends, and I would smoke a lot of weed, and I didn't care about getting high. It was fun, whatever. And then it just stopped affecting me that way, and I actually started getting paranoid. Like I never used to be paranoid smoking, but after my last salvia experience, massive paranoia when I would smoke and stuff, and I was like, "Oh, okay,
That's
something's different now."
It's completely understandable. Completely.
What do y'all think about chemtrails?
Oh my goodness!
All right,
I remember
so
this
Thanks,
dude-
Jesse.
I remember this
No,
dude
this
years
is-
ago.
this is a good conspiracy that we all forgot about. So thank you for bringing that up. I posted a picture in beginning of 2015 from my mom's backyard, and there was this nasty, thick trail, kind of low too, and it looked like a fucking rocket went off over my mom's house. And I was posting pictures about it on Facebook, and of course I had the people coming on telling me I was crazy. Oh, those are just contrails, blah, blah, blah.
No.
Contrails dissipate. This thing was still in the sky 3 hours later, and not only was it still there, like it was beginning to like slowly spread out to form like this nasty gray cloud. And in the comments of that post, I posted a couple more pictures and said, "Oh no, you see those little small trails going underneath and above this one. Those are contrails. 15 minutes later, I took a picture in the same spot. Those contrails were gone. But this ugly, fucking, nasty, thick trail that looked like a rocket tail or like a rocket blasted off was still there. You can't convince me that that thing was a contrail. No way.
I used to have a
cloud seeding has been admitted to that we have the technology to cloud seed.
Yeah,
so,
princes in like Saudi Arabia, because they have such low water density and not a lot of clouds, they will just seed clouds constantly because they have money to do it. The richest people on the planet.
I had a weather book growing up, and it actually talked about both of those things. So they're very much real. I'm sorry. They're there. You can look up and
I just think
them.
it's one of those things where it started happening, people were recognizing, but the craziest of the crazies got the most attention. So people were just like, they're not poisoning us. And then people with tinfoil hats showed it up. They're poisoning all of us. They're turning chemicals in our water and the fluoride and it just made everybody like, stop it.
It's always the loud crazies that give everyone else a bad name on both sides of the political aisle, in different religions, and all things. It seems to be the craziest ones that make the most noise. And then because of that loud, crazy person, everyone associates all people that
with them,
identify with that thing or align with that thing to be the same as that loud, crazy person.
It's the loud minority. The loud minority. They're the only ones that get the attention.
One thing I have noticed too, every time they do spray, a couple hours later it gets colder
and rainier,
and then it rains. And
proves flat Earth, man. It proves it. If we're not spinning on a ball around the sun, then how do we get seasons?
Oh my goodness.
Well, the reason they spray is because they got to cool down the atmosphere. Because if it gets too hot, the drones will melt. The birds,
oh my god,
the pigeons,
the surveillance pigeons, all the surveillance pigeons.
If they get too hot, they'll overheat and melt, and we can't have that because then they can't spy on us.
Okay, no, we got to get off this bird.
Next one.
Do I look like I'm joking?
I will throw something.
I see the grimace. I see the grimace coming.
All right, so the next one. The first lady who ran the country. A stroke rendered President Woodrow Wilson incapable of governing, and his wife surreptitiously stepped in. The truth? Wilson did suffer a debilitating stroke towards the end of his presidency, but the government felt it was in the country's best interest to keep things quiet. The public didn't learn about the stroke for months, during which time his wife, Edith Wilson, was making most executive decisions. Despite Mrs. Wilson claiming that she acted only as a steward, historians who have analyzed the Wilson term in office confirm that for well over a year, Mrs. Wilson was effectively president. So we could actually say she was our first female president.
Wilson, what, 40s?
This explains Biden. Jill's in charge.
You think so?
Oh, well, he's not functionable.
He isn't.
Conspiracy.
Bro, I would not let my grandfather tell me how to live my life.
Facts.
Why is shaking hands with the air, I like mint chocolate chip ice cream Joe running the show? This is insane.
Roomba Joe. Who's that comedian that said that? Was it Shane Gillis?
I have no
idea. The comedian that said he loves watching the end of Biden's speeches because afterwards Biden looks like a Roomba walking around stage.
Oh, he just doesn't know where to go.
Bumping into things.
The drugs probably that they pump him full of are wearing off, and
he's probably just as dramatic too. Like the new Roombas, you can actually get phone alerts if something happens to your Roomba, and it's like, I fell off a cliff, but it just fell down a stair. It's the same thing. Oh, I tripped over a Nazi. Joe, that's a sandbag. You don't know how to walk anymore.
We need a new president.
Yeah, desperately.
So? Yeah.
This man is...
Yeah, they're not going to impeach him until a week before he's supposed to end his term.
He's going to get millions of Americans killed.
Yeah.
He's going to throw us into a war and get millions of people killed.
Dead.
And then... It's not going to be for 20 years when people are like, oh, yeah, that was a bad choice. You fucking think?
It was awful.
Oh.
That video had the TikTok of the girl saying, what's one thing when you were younger you didn't realize was expensive till you got older? And then the other gentleman cuts in with his video and he says, electing the wrong motherfucking president. or the wrong motherfucking candidate is expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really
Yeah,
is.
it is. Well, it's only expensive for us, right? It's not expensive for them.
Oh no, it's no
Yeah,
big deal
they're
to
set.
them.
Oh,
They're
yeah,
set.
they're all set.
Yeah, they're set.
They're good for the rest of their life.
All right, so this next one we've actually already talked about a little bit today. Government mind control conspiracy. The CIA was testing LSD and other hallucinogenic drugs on Americans in a top secret experiment on behavior modification. The truth. The program was known as MK Ultra, and it was real. The CIA started by using volunteers. The novelist Ken Casey was one notable subject, but the program heads soon began dosing people without their knowledge. MK Ultra left many victims permanently mentally disabled.
Well,
and
no
I would
wonder.
actually like to add that a lot of those unwilling patients were mental patients.
Oh, I'm
So-
sure.
Why? Why is the CIA still a thing?
Was it in the 60s or the 70s when they shut down a lot of the mental?
The 60s.
So it makes you
I-
wonder if they took some of those mental
Which was-
patients and said, "Oh, let's just test it on these guys.
Yeah.
They're already mentally crazy." So even if they were to later on
know
go
what,
to try to be whistleblowers, people would just be like, "Oh, you're nuts. You were already locked up in a mental ward. You've lost your mind already. So why should we believe you saying the government was running tests and experiments on you?"
You know what else kind of coincides with that? I just thought about, but this is a little eerie. Lobotomies.
Oh,
Lobotomies were a big thing
yeah.
in the 50s and 60s. And I believe the last lobotomy was done in like 1967 or something like that.
Yep.
After they started shutting down all the mental institutions.
And
Yeah, it was a mass shutdown all over the
Yeah.
country.
Yeah, they
shut
just
down
said we can't do this
hundreds of them.
anymore. And I think we need to bring them back, but higher standards. But if you just look at, there's old advertisements for like lobotomies. They were saying this could treat everything from
Oh, yeah.
depression to sadness in your
If
life,
there's
or
something
if you
wrong
have
with you, we
headaches,
could figure out how to get rid of
anything,
it.
anything. A lobotomy could solve all your problems.
fun fact, I forget names, so I apologize. The person that invented lobotomies, his nephew created Oxycontin.
Makes sense.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Just like
It was in a documentary I watched.
Freud's cousin is the father of propaganda.
Oh.
Interesting.
Yes, father of propaganda.
Oh.
Oh yeah, and they were still doing what, shock therapy into the
Electrotherapy.
into the
Yeah, yeah.
90s.
They were doing that.
That was
in,
part of
like, the
conversion
20s,
therapy,
30s,
too.
and 40s.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
was it
they-
really?
Yeah.
But
They-
lobotomies took over shock therapy because shock therapy was barbaric.
Well, they were still doing it in the 90s.
Were they actually?
My dad's friend had shock therapy
Ugh.
done to him, and he was terrible afterwards.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
He kind of lost his mind.
I'm waiting for
So-
someone to get shock therapy and end up having superpowers where they can shoot electricity out of their
But
fingertips.
that's actually weird though,
Oh, like
because
Cartman.
nowadays one of the bigger fads that are starting to pick up is actually electrogrounding. So it's the opposite. Instead of introducing higher currents into your brain, you ground yourself to a surface to drain excess energy.
Interesting.
There's been a couple of studies where doing such, like if you suffer from inflammation and things like that, it's basically an excess storage of like energy and things like that, where you've built up a mass of things. It's kind of like,
See,
think of a calcified battery.
Oh.
So,
I've
like-
heard a little different that all the inflammation and everything in our body is due to excess mucus. And that's why the alkaline diet is actually helpful to help inflammation and certain ailments.
But that's the same thing with like, if you think of a battery that gets calcified, if you rub it with like alkaline solution, you'll
Mhm.
actually get rid of all the calcification.
Mhm.
The same idea with grounding therapy is you're realigning your body, and it's kind of like an alkaline treatment.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I mean, it does
okay.
make sense
We're batteries.
if everything is just energy, vibrations, and frequency, then yeah, that mucus built up would be, in a sense, excess energy.
Yeah. It's interesting. We are definitely just beings of energy and essentially battery packs, you know?
It makes sense, definitely.
Now shove us all together in one big energy source.
Maybe we're in that, and it's called the Matrix.
Makes sense.
All right,
What's
so
next?
the next one we got here is the Dalai Lama's impressive salary. This conspiracy, the Dalai Lama is a CIA agent. The truth? Perhaps the reason the Dalai Lama is smiling in all those photos has something to do with the 6-figure salary he pulled down from the U.S. government during the 1960s. According to declassified intelligence documents, he earned $180,000 in connection with the CIA's funding of the Tibetan resistance to the tune of $1.7 million per year. The idea was to disrupt and hamper China's infrastructure.
What?
We just need to stop interfering with other countries.
I've never heard that
Holy
one.
shit.
Yeah, I've
But
never,
the
until he
Dalai
brought it up
Lama.
earlier too. But we all
Huh.
remember that story from a couple months ago about the Dalai Lama, right?
Asking that little boy to suck
Wanting
his tongue?
Yeah, sucking little boys' tongues.
That's
Yeah.
just, oh, I'm so disturbed by that still.
It's very disturbing.
It's very disheartening too, because you can't even look up to people no
And he
more.
was such, like, everything that I remember learning about the Dalai Lama is he was a
Positive.
profound spiritual leader.
This goes back to what I said earlier about the whole world being a stage. Everybody that's in some influential position like that, or position of power, spiritual leaders, political leaders, high influential celebrities, like the whole world is a stage, and all of these people are put there to perpetuate something.
But why?
I don't
Just
know.
Just so that we'll make $1 for a corporation? And it's very hard to believe that, like, Mahatma Gandhi was just...
The only thing I've ever heard about Gandhi was that he was a little racist. Other than that,
Sure.
I don't know how much. I haven't heard much
but-
bad about it.
and, like,
If
Mother
anybody else out
Teresa.
there has heard anything bad about Gandhi, drop it in
he
the
was
comments.
actually kind of a creep.
Really?
Was
Yeah,
he?
he
Hit me.
made women sleep naked with him while he slept to, like, test his resolve.
Wow.
That doesn't-
Did any of those women ever come forward and say he raped?
Well, it was. I think it was. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was done unwillfully. Like, he made them sleep
Oh.
with him.
Wow. See, this is why I can't
Did
look up to
he-
people no more.
When you say sleep with them, do you mean in the same bed or actually have sex?
sleep with him in the
Okay.
same bed.
And
to
he was
test
trying
his
to-
mental resolve.
To test himself to see if he could not do anything
Yeah.
with those women, to test his mental strength and discipline.
Still, that's...
That's a little weird.
Next one.
Yep, let's
Oh,
move on.
boy.
I don't know what else to say.
All right, the next one. A lot of people should know this one. John Lennon was under government surveillance.
Of course he was.
The FBI, here's the conspiracy. The FBI was spying on former Beatle John Lennon. The truth. Crazy conspiracy theories regarding celebrities are always interesting, and this one is most certainly true. Like many counterculture heroes, John Lennon was considered a threat. Anti-war songs like Give Peace a Chance didn't exactly endear former Beatle John Lennon to the Nixon administration. NPR reported in 2012, in 1971, the FBI put Lennon under surveillance, and the Immigration and Naturalization Service tried to deport him a year later. Lennon is one of the 13 more notable celebrities you didn't realize were watched by the FBI. That's another episode we could do, is celebrities that were watched by the FBI later on in the future.
The ones that we think are being watched. But,
Or celebrities created by the CIA or FBI.
oh, have you seen that interview with the dude that claims that he's a clone?
Wait, what?
Lil Boo or something, or some
I'll
rapper.
have to look at,
young,
I'll have to look it up.
Young
But yeah, it's
Boo
kind of
or-
a stranger looking guy, but he claims that he's a clone, that he escaped from a lab. And
that
stuff.
he
Damn.
was cloned by what was the company? Do you remember?
We'll have to look into it. But yeah, the thing with Lennon, it makes sense. It was only 20 years after World War II. America was still highly nationalistic. You know, there was pride in our military and things. But a lot of people in the late 60s and 70s started becoming disenfranchised with what America was.
His name
So-
was Kid Boo.
Of course his name's Kid Boo. Is it B-U-U?
And the company is Clonade.
Is it Kid B-U-U?
Yes, B-U-U.
Oh, he's a Dragon Ball fan.
Now I feel like I
But,
can't
yeah,
say it other than
after
Kid
being
Boo.
disenfranchised by America and what was happening in the wars and with Vietnam. Of course.
Oh, so
he
here's
was being
something-
watched.
here's
And
something-
Yoko Ono. I mean, she was suspected to be a spy, but that was probably
I love
just
her music.
Yeah, you do.
I'm just kidding.
Actually, have you ever seen their naked photo? It's not like crude naked, but it's them a shot from behind as they're naked.
I don't.
It's so weird how different. Like John Lennon's got a 45-inch ass crack and a complete flat butt, and then Yoko Ono's got like a little 2-incher and like no cheeks. It's so weird.
All right, we got an article here from 2003 from CNN.com. Clonade says it's cloned first boy. Thursday, January 23rd, 2003, posted at 8:42 p.m. Eastern Time. Toronto, Ontario, CNN. Clonade, the company that is claimed to have cloned 2 baby girls, announced Thursday that a third cloned baby, a boy, was born Wednesday to a Japanese couple. Like its previous claims of having cloned the first human females, Clonade's latest assertion has not been independently verified, meaning the company's claims have been met with widespread doubts. Clonade was founded by the Raelian religious sect, which believes mankind was created by extraterrestrials through cloning. A Florida judge has ordered the company to produce the first baby girl so the state may decide if a guardian should be appointed for her care. And this goes on, but I won't read the rest of the article.
Real quick, you said that was based out of Ontario.
Yes, it's a Canadian company.
And a Florida judge?
It says a Florida judge has ordered the company to produce the first baby girl.
So
the
from
state
my understanding,
born from somebody in Florida, I'm assuming.
From my understanding is cloning of human beings has been outlawed since it was talked about years ago, and every nation that has signed into the UN has declared they will not do it.
Do you believe them?
I believe the ones that are doing it. Like, we have information to suggest that China has created some kind of gorilla human hybrid.
Do you believe that China,
now I
Russia,
don't.
us? I'm just saying this was in 2003, and even if they banned it, I'm sure they worked more on advancing this kind of technology.
Probably found loopholes.
We are going to piss some gods off.
Yeah. We already have.
We should not be cloning human beings.
Well, according to this this religious sect called Raelian, they believe mankind was created by extraterrestrials through cloning.
Which I do have to semi-agree with.
I mean, that ties into the
Von
Daniken
cloning
theory.
when they just put genetic material into an egg and then they kind of fertilize it themselves.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Like, I guess we wouldn't have been.
They can't like.
We wouldn't have been created by cloning. It would have been more genetic manipulation than cloning. The idea that they took like 10% of their DNA and mixed it with 90% of the DNA of the people here, and that's kind of where our missing link, where us and apes or us and chimpanzees, one of the two, share a common ancestor.
Nope.
So that was interesting to find that article from 2003.
So basically, we're part alien.
Yeah, we should not be doing this.
No, I agree.
Mine's still recording?
Yes, it is. It's got...
Ooh. It's been 20 minutes, has it not?
I don't know. Let me check. No, I got 4 minutes.
Yeah, he's gotten up twice now.
Yep.
What the hell?
I got 4 minutes till that goes off again.
No worries.
Next one.
All right. So, where do we leave off?
Why are we doing this?
This one. Idea. I feel like this one is, just about everybody knows about it and is behind it, and the government is spying on you.
I introduced the Patriot Act.
Yep. So, with the advances in technology, the government is using its vast resources to track citizens. The truth? In 2016, government agencies sent 49,868 requests for user data to Facebook, 27,850 to Google, and 9,076 to Apple. According to the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the EFF, a major nonprofit organization that defends civil liberties in the digital world and advises the public on matters of internet privacy. You've probably also heard that your computer camera could be used to spy on you.
They say the same with the TV camera.
Absolutely, it can.
And Edward Snowden.
He exposed.
He exposed the NSA. That when was that? 2014, 2013.
So all you porn addicts out there, cover your fucking cameras.
Yeah,
otherwise, somebody's gonna watch you playing with your ding-a-ling.
I mean, this is it. there's been news stories about this before. This is why a lot of like computer repair shops get a bad reputation. If you bring in a device that has a camera on it, these people who are technologically advanced, they can install a remote desktop program onto your computer.
So you just randomly show them your butthole and they'll probably stop watching.
No.
That'll make them watch even more.
But yeah, there are certain things. So like if you're on a computer and you need technical help, you can offer an IT firm access to your computer, and then they will then have control over your mouse. They'll see everything that's on your
So that's actually that was actually part of my job in the Marine Corps when I worked help desk for computer systems. Is I could remotely get into that person's computer to fix their computer from where I was sitting in my cushy office.
I feel like
that's one of the things that's been happening. Well, not recently, but it was big stories when computers with like cameras and stuff started becoming really big. These repair shops were being exposed for installing a software onto computers so that they would have remote desktop access to everything on their computer. So these people were getting financial records, access to all their media. So if you had photos of things you shouldn't have, they would have access to that. If you had passwords written down on Notepad, they would have access to all of your passwords.
Never save your passwords on any program on your computer.
Sticky notes or on a separate flash drive.
Yep.
I don't ever remember my passwords.
Write them down in a notebook. Don't save
if you have a home diary.
Like if you have a notepad on your phone, don't save your password on it. If you have a notepad on your laptop or Microsoft Word, don't save your passwords on there.
Yeah, I guess I never knew that. I just suck at remembering.
I have every account with every password saved on a notepad on my computer.
But he's got like 400, so good luck.
I just hope you have good security on your computer.
I mean, for the most part, I don't think there's anything to worry about it right now, but we'll just leave it at that. But that's kind of creepy.
Yeah. But I mean, we all have cell phones, so we almost with every company, every app that you download, there's always a user agreement, and of course, a majority of us don't read it. Sometimes you are giving access to your microphone and things like this. A lot of people don't think of, if you have a home aid like Alexa or something, how do you think it knows that you're saying, "Hey Alexa"? The microphone is always on.
Yeah,
that's how it's always listening.
That's why when I download apps too, I look to see everything.
Disable all privileges.
I look to see also what this app's going to do if it shares my data with a third party. Yep. This is why I haven't downloaded Temu. Temu has some really cool like dress shirts that I want to order, but I'm like, I'm not downloading it.
Their user agreement is kind of sketchy.
I believe I sent the video to the group the other day about Temu being a very sketchy company.
Yeah. It's just
that sucks.
It's like Wish. It's just like when Wish came out. Like it sounded like they had cool products.
It was Wish and Geek.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Which sucks because I downloaded both of those.
It's the same thing with all social medias, which is difficult because a lot of people really can't. Social media is not a necessity, but it is nice to have, especially when getting a hold of people or just keeping up with friends. But we are giving these corporations so much access to our personal life. It shouldn't be like this. And I strongly believe that the United States needs to start working on legislation for a digital Bill of Rights for humans.
Yes.
We as American citizens, we are protected by rights. Just because you give these corporations special privileges does not supersede our rights. We need a separate Bill of Rights for online. We need to have control of our data and our privacy. If you want to collect data that I use, cool. Pay me for it, bitch.
Pay me, bitch.
Pay me for it. You have no right to my, but you're using our application? So what? Just because I walk into Top Supermarket doesn't mean they could fucking unzip my pants and touch my dick. Yeah, get out of here,
They're
bro.
also not selling the information of what I'm purchasing at their store to other stores.
But they are doing it to their own stores. So if you sign up for like a shopper's club, they take the data of the products that you buy, then they put it in a data sheet and correlate it, or not correlate it, but they take a list of like, say, 1,000 people, and they look at your grocery list and what you buy each month, determining what you must have. then they adjust their prices on those products accordingly.
I swear to God, if they raise the price of avocados, I'm gonna go postal on
They do.
somebody.
Oh,
It's
I
just
haven't
like
had
that
an
thing
avocado
that
yet. As soon
people.
as we're done, I'm going to
I
get one.
eat 2 avocados a day, man. I
But
love those things.
it's just like that thing that people caught on to with Tops, where they used to have those really awesome deals. You thought they were awesome deals, where buy 2 get 3 free.
Yeah.
They just upped the price of the
Yeah.
2.
Instead of $6.99,
That's not just that's,
$8.49.
that's
Yeah,
not just
so it
Tops. That's
covers
how
You
the
might be
cost.
saving a little bit. But
That's
but
how a lot of places
nothing
do a
like
lot of
what
their
you think.
sales.
Yeah.
Especially Black Friday sales. Like Black Friday sales, some of them are good sales, some of them are huge scams.
Yeah, never shop at Walmart like 2 weeks before Black Friday. You're getting robbed blind.
Yeah.
Robbed blind.
Yeah, they up the prices and then
Yeah.
they'll up it 30%
Legally.
and then
Legally, just so
lower
they're
it 50%,
protected.
so
That's
you're
why
really
I
only
like
saving
smaller companies.
10-15%.
I'll give a shout out to the Russian company I bought my drum from, Ravvast. It's a steel drum. They do Black Friday sales. I'll give another shout out to FL Studio. FL Studios, the best edition they have that has all the bells and whistles and everything is normally like $899, and I got it on Black Friday for I believe $399.
Yeah, he locked out.
I
that day.
lucked out. I wasn't
50%.
even planning on buying it. Something just like got in my head and was like,
Impulse buy.
well, I wouldn't even call that impulse. I'd say that was like smart and just lucky timing, deterministic timing. It was very determined for me to go visit that website that day. Like, I wasn't planning on buying Fruity Loops. I didn't even intend to go to the website that day. And then all of a sudden, something just like in my head was like, oh, go check out FL Studios right now. It's Black Friday. And then I get on there and boom, $399. I was like,
That's a killer deal.
done. And see, I used FL Studio to create the intro song for this podcast.
Which I think is
So-
awesome.
But I think that's one of the things that like Walmart will do.
Oh, I also
Because they have good deals on like Xboxes and PlayStations.
Mm.
It's markedly lower, but then they get you on the TV that you're about to buy too. One of Walmart's biggest sellers on Black Friday are their TVs.
Hmm.
yeah,
because you
humans
think
get
you're getting a
crazy
deal
over
and
them
you're-
TVs. They're fighting each other for
But
them.
you're
and shit.
really not getting a deal on them.
You might as
You're
well just
really
wait
not.
until
the only
after
ones with good
Christmas.
deals are like the lower end ones where they want to get
Yeah.
rid of them.
Or
Yeah.
they have
But even
a,
if you go up there right now, you can go get a 32-inch TV for like $100.
Yeah.
And then
you can get
what? You're
52
going to get
inches for like $250 now.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
You're not
That would've cost
getting deals on TVs for Black
$1,400, like,
Friday.
It's
You're
so
really not.
weird.
I don't know if I ever
Really
want to
not.
buy another smart TV. We bought one
It lasted a
Amazon
month.
TV, and what sucks is this. I had it, I think, for maybe 3 months. I bought it, I want to say, shortly after Christmas, and all of a sudden, like a week into the pandemic, this TV stopped working,
Yeah.
and I couldn't even contact anybody at Samsung, and it was too late to take it back to Walmart at that point.
I highly suggest against smart TVs because
Yeah.
you got to think with a smart TV, that means the software on the TV has to be updated. So
That's when it
they
started having
send-
issues. I
when
got to
they send
update, and then
software
it fucked it all
updates,
up.
It's the same thing with computers. Eventually, those updates no longer format correctly with the hardware in your computer, and problems just start happening.
That's like my cell phone. Every time I get an update, it just gets worse and worse.
Who's breathing into the mic?
Probably me.
Yeah, somebody was loudly breathing into
Oh.
the mic. I could hear it.
Anyway,
But yeah, that's exactly when the TV stopped working. Was I got to update, and this was like a week into the pandemic, and I just couldn't even get the TV to work, even with the remote. It wasn't the batteries in the remote. The remote couldn't get anything to work. And when I called Samsung's actual like help desk, nobody answered.
It was probably a faulty software update, like something happened during the update and it just went wrong. So typically how you would resolve that is by uninstalling the software and then reinstalling. But with a TV, no idea.
Yeah, and especially when
can't-
the remote wouldn't work. Like
Yeah.
the remote just wouldn't work with the TV.
No
Yeah.
idea how you would do that.
I'm lucky. Best Buy, we bought a TV from there, and I think it had a 4-month warranty, and about 6 months in it died. And we went back, and it was like, "Wow, it's 2 months over," but yeah, we'll
That's wild.
We'll
6
exchange
months?
it for you. Yeah, it was.
Like
Yeah,
people
we were
really
lucky. They
expect
were-
for
they were really
TVs
cool.
only.
He must
to
have been
work for
having
6
a
months.
good day.
Yeah, it
I
was
feel
a
like
store
when
manager.
when you're buying expensive stuff like that, it should have a warranty that's way more than just.
Well, most
6
places
months.
do offer like a 2-year for most things now, right?
You got to pay for that extended warranty.
Yeah,
I think that's
From the sounds of it, it's kind of worth it. I mean, I'm not gonna gloat, but I've had like a 60-inch TV for almost 12 years.
You know, Russ, I've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty.
Oh, God.
That's very good.
That's very
It's in a ditch off a cliff. You see the electronic battery. It caught on fire.
At least the Tesla we saw broken down today wasn't caught on fire.
Oh my.
That's a thing you don't hear much. You know, there's
A
been
lot of them have been
more
catching on fire.
Teslas have gone up in flames than Ford Pintos in the 70s. And that's not a conspiracy. That's fact.
Fact.
There,
Oh,
what's the next one?
Teslas are still pretty sweet.
Yeah,
though. I'm
what's
not
the
gonna lie.
next-
They have some sweet features. The next one, Big Tobacco knew that cigarettes caused cancer. Conspiracy. For decades, tobacco companies buried evidence that smoking is deadly. The truth? At the beginning of the 1950s, research was showing an indisputable statistical link between smoking and lung cancer. But it wasn't until the late 1990s that Philip Morris, the nation's largest cigarette maker at the time, even admitted that smoking could cause cancer.
Oh, but they wanted to advertise it for pregnant women.
Man, they had doctors in
9 out of 10 doctors.
Yep,
say
smoke
smoking
Camels.
is good.
It's crazy that doctors were pushing this shit, saying, "Oh, I smoke this because it's the smoothest." And for one, they probably weren't even real doctors; they were probably just actors that
His name was probably Doctor.
Or they were
Good.
just doctors that didn't care about their Hippocratic oath, or in case anything were to happen, they were being offered enough
Or they
money
weren't a medical
by
doctor.
Philip
Oh,
Morris.
That's
They
not.
could have had a doctor.
That's,
and
yeah.
something else.
But
Man,
I think
But speaking of cancer, do you guys think 5G causes cancer?
the
no.
5G cancer thing.
I'm not
It
sure
definitely
how I feel about
disrupts
that.
things. Frequencies and radio waves. It's got to be doing something.
Okay, but before the 5G cell phone towers were up, our internet modems or routers were using 5G technology in them. Like when we first got our router back in like 2017 or 18, had both. I could connect to it through 5G
Mhm.
or 2G. The 2G signal went much further, but the 5G signal was stronger and faster when I was closer to it. So I don't know, man. I don't know a shit ton about. I really don't know much at all about those kind of signals and everything. 5G has been up and running for a couple years now. People aren't having a shit ton of health issues. Maybe it's affecting people's mental, because I feel like people's mental states have been going a little crazy in the last 3 years. But
Mental health, I can see. Causing cancer, I don't know. I feel like it's diet and food that does
I
that.
just feel like if 5G was causing cancer, you'd see a ton of extra people having cancer by now, and you'd see the
Or maybe
numbers
maybe it's
spike.
gonna spike 5-10 years from now.
See that.
It could
Maybe.
be just like adverse effects for taking medications or vaccines. It can happen.
Well, especially too, if you're asking that, I feel like children would end up having cancer. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
That's the problem. It's always wait and see.
Yeah,
And
But,
sometimes by the time you see, it's a little too late.
delay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
But the thing with like Philip Morris and cancer, it's the same thing to be said about the medical industry. It's one of those things where, okay, we can make X amount of pills and we can make X amount of dollars on these pills. Well, we know it's going to have an adverse effect on 1 out of 100 people. If 1 out of 100 people sues us for a maximum of X amount of dollars, that means we're still going to have this much profit. Worth. That's what they say. Worth it.
Well, if they know about the issue and the issue is labeled under the side effects, then they can't be sued for it.
That's
Oh,
why they
jeez.
put the warnings on Philip Morris products now. But
Mhm.
remember one of the big things was the Marlboro Man when he got
cowboy?
cancer?
Yeah.
He was like, "You told me this didn't cause cancer. You said I was gonna be fine." And then he sued Philip Morris, and that's when it started getting some traction.
things that he had to put on his throat?
Oh, that's.
Did he end up getting one of those?
I think so. I
Well-
think he's dead now. Marlboro Man, the original Marlboro Man.
Would it be
Pretty sure
annoying
he's
if I did that for a Halloween episode? If I just did one of those things and talked like this the whole time?
You gotta dress up as a robot though.
Well, no, it'd be one of the smokers.
Oh, you just
yeah.
dead. Oh,
your Halloween costume.
you're
is,
just the ghost
throat
of the
cancer.
Marlboro Man.
I could
Fuck.
be. I could be.
Wow.
Cold blooded.
Oh boy. Moving on.
So the next one actually connects to my favorite singer, who is part of my favorite band. Jim Morrison and the Doors. But it might not connect in a way you think. Fake battle, real war. Conspiracy? The Gulf of Tonkin incident on August 2nd, 1964 was faked to provoke American support for the Vietnam War. The truth? By the time news reached American ears, the facts surrounding the North Vietnamese attack on the American naval ship Maddox was already fuzzy. Declassified intelligence documents have since revealed that the Maddox had provided support for South Vietnamese attacks on a nearby island, and that the North Vietnamese were responding in kind, according to the U.S. Naval Institute. The event opened the floodgates for direct American military involvement in Vietnam, and it was Jim Morrison's dad. His father was the commander of the fleet, who was, I guess,
the head of
that vessel.
Man, I really can't wait until some redacted documents come out about the Cuban Missile Crisis.
I almost forgot about that.
Yeah. It just seems like whenever we get entwined in some kind of conflict, we had something to do with it.
Yep.
So knowing that they lied about this conflict, it makes you question how many other conflicts were we, the public, lied to about so that the government could get the public's support in joining a war. I believe there's a conspiracy that they knew the Japanese were going to attack Pearl Harbor, and they let it happen so we could get into World War II.
I don't know, because we were pretty happy just supplying arms and ammunitions to both sides. But perhaps we saw what was happening and, we started learning about what was actually happening in Germany and Auschwitz and the camps and things like that. And we were probably in communications with Japan because America became pretty friendly with Japan after the war. So perhaps. Plus, it's very weird how, why would they attack us? Even the admiral who oversaw the fleet that attacked Pearl Harbor, he is even quoted saying, "We just awoken a dragon." You attacked one strategic military target. What were you going to accomplish?
And why?
Yeah, I think they wanted to drag us into the war. Maybe because they were, as imperialist Japan, they were dragged in and they just kind of had to side with Germany, but they knew what was going on and they were like, we want nothing to do with this, but we can't betray them. So let's just bring in the big boys.
I've never seen any solid evidence for it, but people have claimed that Pearl Harbor was actually similar to what they believe about 9/11, that it was a false flag operation, that we actually did it to ourselves, that there was some faction here in America that wanted to get into this war, whether it was the bankers that wanted to make more money off this war, whether it was weapons manufacturing companies.
I'm sure there were Americans that...
I mean, my whole thing that I've always solidly and firmly believed for the last decade is if you follow the money, you will find your answers.
Well,
on a lot of things.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yup.
Isn't the old saying that money is the root of all evil?
Yep.
So why do we
definitely
need it?
believe it can be, for sure.
Why do we need it?
We don't. Another form of slavery.
Oh, actually, talking about that real quick, that brings up some interesting things that I found about some other cultures in the world. So the Roman civilization, they got to a point to where they basically ate themselves alive, but they became a church. So the kind of practices and culture of ancient Rome is still preserved in the Catholic Church. And if you look at the Empire of Great Britain, their empire eventually crumbled because they overextended themselves and did the same thing. They became a bank.
When you say Roman culture is preserved in the Catholic Church, so were the Romans into touching little boys?
Oh, please don't.
There are examples.
I mean, is that not a conspiracy though? That priests from different dioceses of the in America, that they would move them from one diocese to another after
they
touching little children.
They covered a lot of it up.
To cover it up. That is a conspiracy. They are conspiring to cover up a crime.
Yep.
And this episode is talking about conspiracies, and that's a big issue I have right there with the Catholic Church.
Yeah, that was real. Yeah, it's all but proven. Yeah, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
it is.
It's disgusting and disturbing.
Man, Jesus would want them. Jesus would want those priests to be have a millstone hung around their neck and to be thrown in the bottom of the ocean. I believe that's Matthew 18:6. I still want to get that on like a plaque or something and put it behind me.
Good for the Catholics. They don't believe in Jesus.
Yeah, they do.
They don't, but they don't believe he was the prophet.
Yeah, they do.
No, that's Jews.
Yeah, but
Yeah, you're
Catholics
thinking of
also-
Hebrews.
Catholics, they believe everything that Christians
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Except
Oh, they do?
For,
Yeah.
Except for
They have a different.
there's a couple differences. They think that Mary can be a mediator.
that's Roman
Yes.
Catholic though, right?
They believe-
Roman Catholic believe that Mary is like it's kind of false idling, but more
Yes,
fall
that's
onto-
exactly what it is.
In a way, they
think-
kinda
think
worship her
she
as
can
well.
Hear your prayer and tell it to Jesus.
Okay, that's cool. That's interesting.
I was gonna say, yeah, my aunt and uncle is.
I can't
Catholic.
remember. It's been a long time. Isn't there a prayer to Mary? Hail Mary, yeah, that's
Yeah,
it, right?
Hail Mary.
Hail Mary, full of grace, hallowed be thy name, thy
Wait.
kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Wasn't it the Roman Catholics who killed Jesus?
No, it was the Jews that killed Jesus. Roman Jews.
No.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, it was
Jews?
Let's find
no,
out.
I think it was
The Roman
is-
Catholics.
I thought
yeah,
it was the Roman
This is
Catholics.
yeah,
why
too.
we
Roman Catholics,
have
because that's
Google.
where the crucifix comes from.
Yeah, I think Russ might be right on
Yeah.
that one because I
Same
remember
thing with
reading
like
it.
very funnily enough, like
Oh.
decimal comes from decimate or
take
deci.
1/10.
Deci is 10. Yeah, so like to decimate, it was a practice in the Roman army where if you were put in groups of 10, you and 9 other brothers, you would share a camp, you would make meals together, so you were one of 10, you were a deci. If you did something that were to betray your brothers, you would be decimated. You and your 9 brothers would be punished.
It was the Jewish authorities in Roman Judea. According to the gospel accounts, Jewish authorities in Roman Judea charged Jesus with blasphemy and sought his execution, but lacked the authority to have Jesus put to death. That was in John 18:31. So they brought Jesus to Pontius Pilate,
Yeah, Pontius Pilate.
the Roman governor of the province, who authorized Jesus'
Okay, so
execution.
it was the Romans who killed him, but the Jews.
So it was coercion.
It was
Yeah,
yes.
kind of.
Jewish authorities basically were able to talk the Roman governor Pontius Pilate into authorizing Jesus' execution.
That is
so
so
weird.
wild.
Yeah, it's because the ruler at the time was
Was-
scared that he was trying to.
So has the
ruler.
crucifix always been a Catholic symbol? Because I know particularly a crucifix has almost exclusively been used as punishment.
Yeah.
That's why it's a crucifix.
Yeah.
So what was your question? Is the crucifix always?
Where did
Always-
crucifying come from?
No. Has the crucifix always been a Catholic symbol?
I believe so.
Don't some of them have like the weird little extra thing at the bottom? And, like,
That's an ankh. That I don't exactly.
Oh yeah, the
remember what that is.
Ankh.
See, this is why we need-
Egyptian symbol. That's in my book.
No. It's still a cross, but it's still a cross.
The
but it still
crucifix
has, like,
was-
an extra little like slanted, shorter bottom.
Oh, I don't know.
This is why we need some theologians. There's
Yeah.
so many different religions. I'd
So
like to-
what is highlighted here is says it was not part of Christian iconography or symbols until the 4th century.
Oh,
That was
Wow.
like 270 years after.
So
Yeah,
that's
it looks
still
like
within the Roman Empire.
4th century. This one's saying 6th century. You know what's interesting? You know, I think on a past episode I said I did go check out the church, the Latter-day Saints, the Mormons.
Mm.
They don't have crucifixes anywhere in their church. There's nothing of Jesus on the cross.
Church of Life. That's Catholic. Church of Latter-day
No, it's the
Saints?
Mormons.
Mormons.
Church of Latter-day Saints.
Did they have plates?
What do you mean by plates?
Plates?
Like golden plates? Nobody's ever seen those golden plates except Joseph Smith and I think Joseph Smith's brother,
Yeah,
if I'm not
but
mistaken.
we also don't have the cross that Jesus was crucified on, but we still use the symbol.
Right. They don't worship that symbol at all or even use its imagery.
That's actually quite interesting and weird. I shouldn't say weird, but
Very,
weird.
very interesting.
I guess in a
We
way.
deviated a little bit there. But
I mean, I guess in a way, why would you want? I could understand not wanting to celebrate the death of your prophet or the man you believed was God, but I guess I also understand other Christians and Catholics why, if Jesus did die for our sins, why they would want to,
Hell.
I guess,
That
have
was a
that
reminder.
imagery
it
around.
reminds them.
Yes,
yeah,
the
yeah.
reminder that he died for our sins. He died so we could all have a good time.
Ugh.
That's a fucked up way to look at it. I'm sorry. It's
yeah.
hard for me to not make jokes about anything. Sorry.
At the same time, though, it feels like a lot of people. Oh, what is a good example?
Jesus died for our wild ride.
But people like how they blame
Sorry,
their
Jesus.
parents for not disciplining them more as a child. It feels like we're almost getting to the point where people are blaming Jesus. Well, if he didn't die for my sins, then maybe I would have.
Or people,
Oh,
or
no.
some people use that as an excuse to be a shitty human being or to
Exactly.
do sinful
Yeah.
things. Oh, Jesus died for my sins, so I can go be a slut.
Or they take it the wrong way and say, Jesus was talking to me and he told me to kill all these people.
And I don't think Jesus would tell anybody to kill anybody.
Oh, I know, but there's crazies out
Well,
there.
Oh,
He
for
did
sure.
slap a couple hoes.
Jesus.
Yeah,
When?
he
Prove it.
Prove it.
He did. I'm pretty
Now
sure
watch
he
out
flipped a
touching that,
table
'cause
in a
I can hear that.
marketplace.
Well,
But he didn't slap nobody though.
No, it's when he went up to the temple.
I'm pretty sure
they
he-
they
Be
turned the
careful
temple
touching
into
your
a gambling
boom arm, I
hall,
can hear that.
and he was so infuriated that he flipped all the gambling tables.
Yeah,
but
like,
I
he
forgot
never
what
hurt-
he said
He
there.
didn't hit nobody
Well,
or
I'm
hurt
not
nobody.
saying that he just went somewhere randomly and did it, but he saw what was going on and he disapproved. And
Yeah, he just flipped the table.
This is one of the big differences between Jesus and Muhammad too. Like Muhammad was kind of like a warlord and believed that you should be what's it called when you leave the church, an apostasy, or when you
Excommunicated.
no, when you leave a religion, I can't remember what it's called, but basically in Islam they believe you should be put to death for it.
Whoa.
Now the Old Testament does say you should be put to death for that, and I know Jesus said, he came to preach the gospel, which that's part of the Old Testament. But Jesus himself never said to kill anybody that wants to leave the religion. Which
yeah,
is
all you can do as a believer is try to tell people the truth.
on the PBD podcast. There was a really good episode a couple weeks ago of two Islamic guys and two Christian guys that were debating, and
I think I've seen
one of
shorts
the Christian guys actually used to be a Muslim.
I'm
and
actually seeing
converted to Christianity.
I'm actually seeing more and more people actually convert to Muslim. It seems to be pretty
I have an
common
issue.
thing.
One of my big, because again, children are involved here. One of my big issues with Islam is that
Muhammad touching kids.
touching kids and taking wives that were
That
like
were
7 years
6
old,
years old.
6, 7 years old against their will. Like that's a problem. Yeah, that's a
Excuse me?
problem to me. Jesus never did that kind of stuff. To
Isn't-
me, Jesus is way more of a role model than Muhammad.
That
Is
is
there-
very
Well,
disturbing.
Muhammad was he was an evil person. He's
Exactly.
Nobody.
I might be
that
out
anybody
of
should look
out of
into.
pocket and a little out of place here, but isn't there also? I don't think it's in their teachings, but I've heard this may be a saying within the culture where women are for children, boys are for pleasure.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to the next.
The other thing in
Yeah.
Islam too is in Islam it is okay to beat your wife, and I don't
Yeah.
ever hear Jesus talking about that.
See, that's wrong.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, to just
Mhm.
beat your wife out of anger. To
Basically, if
Like,
she
how does-
if she
I don't
speaks-
agree with it,
anything-
but
if
how do they?
if she speaks
describe
if
it?
she speaks out of turn or does anything you don't
Yeah, if
like,
she
basically
does
you
anything
have
without
the
your
right to
permission.
Yeah, then that kinda
lay off and
gives-
smack her.
that gives an
It's not
awful
okay.
man free reign to be an awful.
Yeah.
man. So
Especially when we're biologically different. You kick my ass.
yeah.
So
I would like to talk to a Muslim priest or a theologian.
And I
some
think it's
sort
okay to blow people up that don't believe the same things they do.
Yeah,
I don't think
which
all
is
of them do.
That-
The
that's-
more extreme. But,
No, that's what the Quran calls for. To
sure,
destroy the unbelievers.
But there's a lot of things in the Bible that we just.
There
nowadays
also is a
kinda
part,
like,
though, in the
"Ah."
Quran that does say something along the lines of the Christian man is an ally to the Muslim in certain times because they believe in the same God. It's just different. It's the God of Abraham. Hebrews, Muslims, and Christians all believe in the same God, which is why it's crazy to me that they're all fighting with each other. Like,
makes no sense.
no way
Different
God.
prophets.
Yeah, there's no way God wants us to fight with each other. Absolutely no way. I can't believe that.
Unless he's a very sick and sadistic father, which
I mean,
is possible.
The Old
but-
Testament God seems quite a bit more sadistic and angry and warring and maniacal compared to the New Testament God. But
This ain't the religious episode. Let's go.
yeah, but I mean, things
I know
flow.
we
Things
got
flow.
sidetracked, but
That's called conversations just naturally flowing. So, that could show one of two things. If as above, so below, then that shows the character arc of God, that God himself is evolving and evolved to be more loving. Or it would show something like the Gnostics believe that there's actually two beings, and the being that created this world is actually an evil, lesser entity and is not the true supreme God.
Well, God is unchanging. It's the people were so evil back then that he had no choice but to completely destroy them.
That's why
like Sodom and Gomorrah.
That's why also though, like, Gnostics believe
we're
that.
close to that, right?
I
We're
hope
pretty
not,
close.
man.
I think
I
we're
hope
in it.
not. I think
But that's
we're
the thing, though.
pretty
That's the thing, though. If God
Not
is,
quite.
if God is so forgiving, why would He destroy them in such a way? Even if they
That
were so
contradicts-
far from Him and
Well,
and that
there-
they were evil and
there was a
sadistic.
trial and they failed. There was a final trial and
Yeah,
they failed.
yeah, he's
So,
yeah.
but
Basically gave him
I mean,
an ultimatum.
look at some of the stories of Sodom and Gomorrah and the city, and look at San Francisco.
Oh my God! This just popped into my head.
Close, you know?
I brought up Mohenjo-Daro earlier, and I was actually wrong about Mohenjo-Daro being the underground temples. Mohenjo-Daro was actually the place in Pakistan where they believe Sodom and Gomorrah was, and there's vitrified stone, which can only be caused by the type of heat that a nuclear weapon can put off.
think I've seen.
So that's
this.
either
It's kind of like
aliens or literally the wrath of God coming
Yeah.
down
Yeah,
fire
there
from
like-
the sky.
Isn't there like
meteor,
one weird
meteors
pillar,
or something?
but then like salt
hit them? I can't
flats?
remember.
There's vitrified stone there, and I learned this from Ancient Aliens. The only way stone can be vitrified in such a way is with the intense kind of heat that nuclear weapons create.
So what does vitrification do?
Basically turns the stone to glass. Yeah.
Oh, like when lightning hits sand.
It's almost like
It's-
petrified wood out in Arizona.
it's
I have a piece
So
at
hot,
home.
so fast, but then cools so fast that it glasses over.
Basically,
Okay. It's like flashing a diamond.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
flash diamond making. It's we can kind of do it with heat and pressure now.
I guess I
but
don't know enough about the vitrification process to answer that.
I
I'm
would
being
I would
honest.
like to see some photos of like vitrified stone from Nagasaki or Hiroshima
Oh yeah, that'd be kind
Yeah.
of cool.
to kind of like
Not cool,
compare.
but
Let me
side to
see
side?
if I can find one on Google real quick. Sadly, we can't show the audience yet, but
not yet.
we will soon.
But I mean, if
all we need is a screen recorder program.
that, or if you were just able to whatever pages, whatever you've been looking up, if you can take a screenshot, it's usually F12, print F12. You can then send them to me when I start doing the shorts, and then I can throw them back.
oh, there you go. That's a good idea.
Not finding any pictures of vitrified stone from Hiroshima or Nagasaki.
Well, it was done so long ago. They probably cleaned it all up.
It's also different environments. Maybe it was able to do it in Pakistan because it's a more desert-like environment, which is a little more sandy compared to like hills and mountains and green that's in Japan.
Well, that makes sense because the petrified wood is out in Arizona. That's a desert.
Who knows?
Hopefully the microphone didn't pick that up.
Obviously.
Oh,
Oh my goodness,
It's
Adam.
that Chinese coming back.
Hey, if it did, that'd be great.
Oh.
Oh yeah, the last one I have written down. I don't know if we've talked about it or not, but the moon landing where they recorded it in the studio.
I don't know how I feel about that. I still feel like we went to space, but
Right.
Yeah, I
Lord
mean,
knows.
the MythBusters proved that
It's
of the
possible,
all of the
and-
things that they're trying to debunk in space, like the flag moving and the no stars in the
The
background.
And
the
it's
footprint with
so
dust
very-
coming up.
Yeah, where
so-
he's just kind of like slightly bouncing, but then when he falls, the dust just kind of. It's like that doesn't look like.
Okay, so there's a YouTube channel called Action Labs. Love this guy's channel. It's all scientific stuff. He recently just watched a video on it where he has a vacuum chamber in his lab.
Yeah, and they put the
He
flag
put
in
he
there.
put the shoe in there with a type of powder that is about the same size and density as the moon dust or the dust on the moon would be. And he created the vacuum, sucked all the air out, and then was able to drop the shoe inside of it. And when he did, it still left the footprint and some dust came flying up in the air. So the video where you can see the dust flying in the air when he's running. Have you ever actually watched the video of the astronauts trying to walk on the moon? It's kind of funny. They look a little drunk
It's
and they're
goofy.
like
it's because
stumbling
you're
over. Yeah,
you're
it's kind
so
of
much
goofy.
lighter.
it's
up
kind of
there.
it's kind of funny.
Yeah, what is
There's-
it? The moon has 1/8 the gravity. Is that what it is?
A different.
I think it's 1/8 of
Have
Earth's
you ever-
gravity.
You ever played around with it's like a program or like a game type thing where you can like choose the gravity of the sun, Jupiter, the
I've
moon,
seen a lot of
and you can like
different
launch
apps,
a vehicle to see like
So-
how far it goes and like how quickly it,
just-
returns to the ground. And
To me, in the
It'll
video,
pancake if you.
Yeah.
It's
the way
cool.
the astronaut is kind of jumping, it just looks like he's affected by gravity normally, and because he's tilting forward, it just kind of looks like there's ropes maybe holding him and helping him. But when he does trip and the dust kicks up, it immediately falls back down. It's like it doesn't look like that was 1/8 Earth's gravity. That's
I'd have to
don't
rewatch.
know.
I'd have to rewatch the video to really see how the dust falls.
plus the technology for the astronaut suits is 50 years old now, and we're being told that we can't recreate it.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Come on, guys. No. That,
Yeah, we're being told that we lost the technology for it. What do you mean we've
We're still
I thought
developing
I thought what they
technology.
said was it's just too expensive at the moment to recreate
Oh,
it.
geez. Stop
'Cause it-
putting money into war. We
I mean,
have
it did cost a lot of money. If we went to the moon for real, it cost a lot of money to get
Sure.
there. Do you want to know what one of the astronauts said about going up into space, going to the moon?
Hmm.
It was a little terrifying, not for the fact you're going into space, but because in the back of his mind, he knew that the people that built the rocket ship, all the parts and labor and everything went to the lowest bidder.
I mean,
So
that's
why
true.
even
That's
do
a-
it?
That's a scary thought, knowing you're going to be in that rocket
That's
going
the
up
same
to
thing
space.
with canned food back in like the 1700s. They had the cheapest company do it, and all of the crewmen on I forgot what ship it was. They all died because it wasn't sealed properly, and all.
I
got
mean, we're
moldy.
still kind of
Oh
doing. We're
my
still kind of
God.
doing that now. I believe it's Tyson chicken, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, they're so
Yeah, lowest
gross.
bidder.
They take their chicken, they ship it to China to be packaged, to then ship it back here to be distributed, because somehow it's cheaper to ship it to China to have it packaged and then ship it back here to distribute it than it is to just package and distribute it here.
Because we
It's
don't
crazy.
have the factories to do it anymore. Plus, the wages in the United States are so much higher than wages in China. It's cheaper just to buy an overinflated stock of fuel at a reduced price, send it over there with the same fuel, bring it back. They're saving money. When we should literally just be paying to open up factories in America where we can pay people decent wages. Sure, your food's going to be a little bit more expensive, but you're also not going to be 600 pounds because you're going to be spending your money on other things than addictive food.
Yeah. Yeah.
Food can very much be addicting. Fucking nacho Takis or whatever they are, the cheese Takis, the new ones. Dude, they're so good. They're
Actually,
so.
you know what?
That's
food
my
I
guilty
think-
pleasure snack
Takis
every
is my
night.
weakness.
You want a new addictive one? I think Ben and Jerry's just came out with a churro ice cream.
Can't eat ice cream.
Yeah.
Lactose intolerant?
Yep.
I can have certain kinds of cheese, but not a lot of it.
So
And-
Ben and Jerry's just came out with a churro ice cream.
I like the churro Kit Kats.
Ex-
Yeah, I do like
The
churro.
churro Kit
What?
Kats are pretty good. Yeah.
What? I have not seen those
They got
yet.
them right up.
I did
there,
not
right
know you were
on-
lactose intolerant.
Before you
Yeah, I can't drink
check
regular
out,
milk.
they got 'em sitting right on the
Man,
counter.
that's almost
can't-
like being
nice.
allergic to
Can't eat
peanuts.
ice cream. And you know what sucks is all of the non-dairy or vegan ice cream alternatives I've had minus one, they're just not as good. They're almost like Italian ice, and they don't have that creaminess that ice cream has. Do you want to know what vegan / non-dairy ice cream actually had? And you know this answer, so don't answer it. Had the closest creaminess to ice cream.
Almond.
Avocado ice cream.
Ugh.
Think about it. When you get a nice ripe avocado, it's quite creamy.
I thought it was gonna be
So
the coconut
do you
milk
just
one.
eat sherbet then?
Sherbet ice cream still has milk in it.
Sherbet? No.
Sherbet's not.
Sherbet's
Sherbet's
not
not
ice cream.
dairy.
100% it is.
Sherbet? No. It's
Yep.
not dairy. Google it.
I'm pretty sure there's a little dairy in there.
I think it's just ice and flavor.
I think that's worth the farts.
Definitely got the heavy cream.
That's worth the farts.
I love sherbet. Oh my
It's
goodness,
so
it's so
good.
good.
It's so good. Now I have to go buy ice cream.
I know.
If I can't find this churro ice cream, I might.
You've been obsessed with ice
Like
cream all
Sherbet
summer long.
falls in between sorbet and ice cream and includes dairy ingredients in small amounts, about 1 to 2%. But it is distinctively
Oh.
different from ice cream in flavor and texture. Sherbet typically uses citric acid, which can make it for a more tart.
So there's basically none.
But there's still enough. It's gonna fuck my stomach up.
1%.
I-
Wow, you have
I-
that bad. You
I
don't have
can-
like digestive.
So
I think
my
you're gonna have to do an experiment tonight. Eat a
my
whole thing of
thing
sherbet.
my thing with ice cream is I can have like 3 little scoops tops before it fucks me up. Maybe I could have 4 with sherbet because it is lower in lactose,
Nope.
which is probably why I can have certain cheeses like cheddar and provolone and Swiss.
It-
But if I eat a bunch of American cheese, yeah, my stomach's gonna be fucked.
And
'Cause
it's
it's
bad
higher in
all
lactose.
night. Like he'll literally lay there on the couches.
Isn't most American
groaning
cheese?
because
No,
he's in
that's
pain.
not it. You're
solidified
talking about my
oil?
gastritis issues.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of something
No,
else.
I get painful gas from lactose stuff. What you're talking about is my gastritis outbreaks.
my bad.
Those are fucking painful.
That
Feels like I'm
sucks.
being when I get a gastritis outbreak, it feels like something's just like stabbing me, and like imagine like someone's taking your intestines and just like squeezing them and like trying to wring water out of them, like they're just choking your intestines. It
I don't think I can
hurts.
think of that because I don't really.
Oh,
I don't think I've ever really had intestinal pain.
It hurts. All I got to do to avoid that is just be careful how much greasy and acidic food that I eat. And this is why I don't fully follow the alkaline diet, but I incorporate a lot of components of the alkaline diet into my diet so it keeps my stomach from getting overly acidic. It's
Well,
very
now you
nice.
just gave a plenty of people who might not end up liking you ways to poison you. Good job.
Oh, wow, that
Just
went
saying.
south.
I mean, you
Just
can't-
remember, none
you
of
can't
us want to
poison me when
unalive
I'm-
ourselves.
No,
Hey,
not
I'm
at all.
Ice cream filled burgers.
just little squirts of milk in his fucking in his buns.
Ew, so
No.
so
Not in his
gross.
buns, in his like hamburger buns.
Milk buns.
As he's sleeping on the couch, just take this.
So we got 3 left on here, and this one's a little silly, but I'll go ahead and read it anyways. There is alien evidence in the American Southwest. The conspiracy
So what do they mean by alien?
that E.T. is buried in the desert of New Mexico. The truth? This one is real. The Atari video game E.T., the extraterrestrial, failed so miserably that the company buried unsold
Yeah, the
cartridges
permanent
in a desert landfill.
Like 13,000 copies or something that were uncovered recently.
There
And they're
was an
actually selling
ET
for
game?
pretty decent money. Yeah.
Oh, I bet
it
they
was-
would.
It was awful.
Wow. Well, there was
It didn't even work.
what was it? Basically, the Area 51 of Mexico or just South America. There's a story that people like to this day they just live by that. There was a gray creature and it smelled awful. After it crashed, there was a gray creature that was emerged. It was injured. Just the smell was like turning people's stomach. It was taken to a hospital. had procedures done, and they had to shut the entire wing of that hospital down because of the smell.
Oh my
And
god.
have
two or
never
three
heard
people
of that.
died.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look into that
if you
one.
have the internet right now, just
Do you know what it's called? What should I type into Google for this?
What was it?
I think
Area
it was a
51 of South America.
Twilight Zone episode.
No. Just the Area 51 of South America. I don't remember what it's called, or
Not Roswell, would it?
no. Because
Okay.
Roswell's in New Mexico. That's here in
Oh,
America.
okay.
I don't remember what country it's in, but
Down
if you start
south,
seeing
though,
some
right?
things- Yeah, I'd use my phone, but it's recording.
That's no worries. I put my phone out in the other room.
I'm not finding anything about an Area 51 of South America.
I will. I'll clip some things on the episode.
Yeah, everything that's coming up is just about our regular Area 51.
Probably trying to keep it extra hidden.
Maybe. Or
South America is a hotbed of weird happenings, though. I was watching. Anybody know Mr. Ballin?
Oh, I love his stuff.
Okay,
did.
so when we watch Mr. Ballin', we call it balling out.
I
He
love
did
his.
an episode where there was a guy that was in his house and he seen a big flash of light through the window, and then I think after a couple hours his whole body started to melt.
Oh my god, I don't think I've watched that one yet.
He felt like he was on fire and his skin started to melt off his bone.
Was it
Oh
some
wait,
type
I
of
did
like
watch that one.
radiation or something that
That's
caused
what
it?
people were thinking. It was such
Shit.
high radiation that
South America's got some.
and this was in the 50s or 60s.
This-
70s maybe? It
yeah.
was a long time ago.
I did watch that one. I had to
see,
think
we're
about
being
it.
experimented on.
We're gonna have to go through Mr. Ballin's stuff and find out.
He
and
did
listen to that one again.
put out a couple new videos I want to watch.
Well, we can go balling out while
I
we're
didn't see
watching
the B
eating
one
dinner
yet.
tonight.
I seen that one uploaded, and I gotta watch that one.
All right, so this next one's pretty funny, I guess. Canada tried to develop gaydar.
Excuse me, what? Wait, say that one more
So
time.
as in gay radar.
Yes, so the conspiracy, the Canadian government was so paranoid about homosexuality that it developed a gaydar machine. The truth? It really happened. In the 1960s, the government hired a university professor to develop a way to detect homosexuality in federal employees. He came up with a machine that measured pupil dilation in response to same-sex erotic imagery. The Canadian government used it to exclude or fire more than 400 men from civil service, the military, and the Mounties. Man, Canada
no
has come
wonder why
a long
Canada
way
is-
since then.
Yeah, no wonder why they're
Holy
in the
shit.
position they're in right now. Like, I get it. You were like, these gays.
I don't-
Holy crap.
I don't know how to respond right now.
That's ridiculous.
Did they
My
have
head
a
is
problem
spinning
with,
from all the
like,
gayness.
I don't understand. Did they have a problem with gay people not performing?
I don't
well in their job?
know.
don't
So I
understand.
just learned about this one today while I was looking up the 12 conspiracies that came out to be true. Like most of these I've known about. The Dalai Lama one I didn't, and this one I sure didn't. So I'm definitely gonna have to look into it more. But
Gay radar.
Jesus,
Listen,
God.
all they needed was another gay person because, as I've been told, they just know. They do.
I
They
mean-
just know.
I can't even right now. I cannot.
That was back in the 60s. Maybe they didn't have that ability yet.
I'm pretty
It's
sure
because they
they.
wouldn't talk to any of them and become
Wait a minute.
friends.
Time out. If gay people in the 60s didn't have that ability yet, and they do now, that is proof of evolution.
Oh my god!
It is.
Don't no.
I'm saying
Stop.
that would be an evolutionary trait.
No, because it was already predetermined that they wouldn't have it in the 60s and it would later develop in the 80s.
Which is still an evolutionary trait because evolution would be
I
already
turned it on.
predetermined.
I tried.
It is determined when we're going to evolve. So that would be a predetermined evolutionary trait that in the last 60 years has developed. We need to look into that.
Oh my god!
I'm gonna turn it on him one of these times.
I don't know, man. I gotta get Amjad here and we can do a whole episode on that because he argues it very well. Trust me, I've tried to
Yeah, I'm sure.
I've tried to convince him that determinism isn't a thing. Like
He's probably
still-
a skilled debater.
I still
Yes,
somewhat
he is.
he very much is. I mean, he went to school to be a lawyer, so but I've even said to him,
territory.
you know, maybe things that happen in the external world are determined, but I still like to believe that I somehow have choice in how I react to these events in the outside world. Like my thoughts and emotions, I like to try to believe that I'm in control of those.
Yeah. I can't control the wind or the storm, but I can control the sails.
Yeah.
But
Fortune cookie.
even then, I still question.
Oh, so he's a disbeliever in free will.
Yes,
Yes,
he
yes.
he's a pretty hard determinist. I lean more towards the side of determinism, but I'm still very much open to that we could have free will.
Same. That's how I feel.
It's a pretty good thing to actually be stuck on because you can't really prove either. So
I've
you know,
seen-
it comes down more to opinion.
I've had an experience where I saw my blueprint and everything so far has came true.
I
I
mean,
mean,
like,
the only kind of evidence that I would have against determinism is that I sometimes do have premonitional dreams. I will have a dream, and then I
Then,
wake
okay.
up and I'm like, oh, that was weird. I guess this is going to happen in a couple months.
And
Happens in a couple of months, but the outcome is not the same.
I can't remember who it was, but somebody said to me, if determinism is real, then there is no God. And I said, well, if determinism is real, that could be actually solid proof that there is a God, because this is all some grand design, some blueprint. And when they say
It would
God,
have to be.
when they
What-
say God
what
knows
other
every
than-
choice we're going to make and everything we do, well, maybe he knows that, or whatever God is knows that, because everything's already predetermined, because this is his creation. This is its blueprint. Like,
his story.
yeah, exactly.
What other than an omnipotent being would have the kind of power and foresight to plan out infinity? So determinism would absolutely be proof of a God.
Mhm.
Yeah. It would make sense at that point.
There would be no other entity that could design such a plan.
I know I've brought this up on, I think, 2 episodes now in the past, but it was like the first time Amjad brought determinism to the table was right after her and I came down from a trip. And years ago, I described what I believe the Hindus would call the Wheel of Samsara, which when I had this vision, I didn't even know what that was, where I said I saw this thing where there's these characters that our soul inhibits the bodies of these characters, like these characters in this play or this movie or this game or whatever it is. Our soul enters these beings or characters, and basically it's in whatever character it's in, because the soul or the consciousness that inhibits that being needs to learn the lessons that the character in this play or movie or whatever this is, this stage that we're on, we will learn the lessons our soul needs to learn through those characters. And when he brought the idea of determinism to the table, that really got the wheels in my head going about that vision. And I'm like, you know what, that makes that vision make a lot more sense, because like the way I saw it was like I was using Adam's body as a vehicle for my soul so I could learn the lessons that this character was going to live out through its life. And it took me a while to fully make. I've had some weird visions on trips that have taken me anywhere from 5 to 10 years to start to make sense of. And the one on Salvia, like I said, I'll talk about on another one, but that Salvia trip that scared me, there was actually something deep to it. But anyways, we'll move on from there. The very last one. This one's a big one. The Illuminati and the U.S. government conspiracy. A secret society that rules the world, the Illuminati, and the U.S. National Security Agency are in cahoots. The truth? We're here to tell you that link does, in fact, exist. Of course, that link is actually a hyperlink, i.e., an electric link between 2 internet sites. If you type in Illuminati backwards, Itanimulli, Itanimulli, into a web browser, you will land on the NSA website. Click this link if you dare. Itanimulli.com. Rumor has it this elite society includes tons of famous personalities, actors, actresses, and performers. Now, I did this earlier. I went to Google and I typed in Itanimulli. That's hard to say backwards. And
Doesn't make sense.
sure as shit, when I typed it into Google, up pops the NSA website.
So I just have to say that there is actually a way for you to hyperlink another site. You can buy a website and then have the code of that website relink to another site.
But why would the NSA do this unless they were almost trying to...
Probably wasn't the NSA. It was probably just... It could have been just some person that was like, you know? Why not?
I guess I don't know about linking one site to another like that, so I'd have to look into that. But I mean, I don't doubt this conspiracy that we'll just call them the shadow government or they. They.
Well, I mean,
who's they, man? Who's they?
Bohemian Grove is a real thing. It's been exposed, and this is a private club of wealthy, powerful individuals, and just like. Man, what's the comedian's name? Wow, Carl's.
Which one?
Oof, the older gentleman who's always anti-government.
George Carlin.
George Carlin.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. That took me a hot minute.
No, it's okay.
So Bohemian Grove and even George Carlin laid this out very perfectly, that you don't need a formal conspiracy when you have a bunch of wealthy, elite people who go to the same colleges, they went to the same fraternities, they have the same interests in the same organizations. These people converge. That's why people like you and me, we're not invited to Boeing shows to look at private jets and look at Rolls Royces. These people are. They know each other. They're on the same Rolodex. It doesn't matter. There doesn't have to be a secret organization of hooded misfits who are plotting the demise. They tell us they're doing it. It's the World Economic Forum. Klaus Schwab has a meeting. They have meetings like every year, and they say, the world population is too much. We need to reduce the world population by about 70%.
And you will own nothing and be happy.
Yeah,
and you will
screw
eat the bugs.
Eat the bug.
What does what does
No.
depopulation mean? What do you mean by depopulation?
Oh, they're just going to send out another pandemic.
Well, they want to
will-
get rid of all the undesirables. That's
Or
why
something.
Bill Gates killed a bunch
Like-
of people in Africa.
They're
Wait, what?
saying
Yeah, he sent out what did he do in Africa? He sent out
some kind of vaccine.
he sent out a vaccine that killed thousands of people.
So
in-
the
Oh,
the
yeah.
vaccine was
Testing
supposed
it.
to help fight whatever virus, but then it
And it
actually
malaria.
it actually created a strain of the virus that was actually coming from the vaccinated people. I'll have to look into this. Let me.
Oh my god!
That
Yeah,
sounds dangerous.
Quick Google.
I'll look
But
into that when I get
yes,
home tonight.
there-
But I didn't know that.
There doesn't need to be a secret hooded organization. They have the internet. Skype is real. You don't need it.
Yeah.
These people have the same interests. They have the same desires.
they probably log into World of Warcraft. So that's
Yeah,
probably
right? Like they could be. They could just be like, all right, guild characters. It's not hard to see it. They tell us what they're talking
Yeah,
about.
they use metaphors.
Sure, they're not saying, I want to kill half the population. But you can't say, we need to depopulate the planet. There's
And
only
then when their
one.
actions lead to thousands of people dying.
Yeah,
then-
and it's plausible deniability. They say, depopulate, 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 depopulate. You say that for 15 years. Eventually, somebody's going to come along, like Hitler, and say, they're right. And you know what? I've got the grand solution. They didn't do it themselves. They just suggested it. Oh, and look, somebody did it. Wow. Like it's not that hard to imagine.
Oh man.
Especially when they're talking about we need to reduce the carbon footprint on the planet as they drive or fly individual jets to an island.
Yep. That part I do not
Shut up.
understand. Or
So,
they have freaking boats.
As I'm trying to find, because I know I read something about this in 2020 about the vaccines they were pushing for something in Africa ended up creating like a new strain of the virus that was coming specifically from the vaccine.
Jesus.
But now Google is not showing me anything about it. Everything,
Of course.
Of course not.
everything I'm finding when I'm typing things in is just talking about
We really need to start using
the
like
corona.
DuckDuckGo or Brave.
Yeah, so this is something I talked to an internet friend that I have that her and I met in Washington D.C. in 2013. Him and I recently were talking about how it's a little alarming that Google basically has a monopoly on information.
Oh,
I don't
it's
like-
90
and-
some odd % of searches are through Google.
And here's the thing: is like Google could literally censor or just get rid of any information
Like the
they
Hillary
want
Clinton
to.
thing. When
Yes.
you typed in Hillary Clinton during the election, you had to go like 7 pages to find any.
Jesus.
Yeah. So, and most people are lazy and they're not going to scroll through all
Yeah.
7 pages
Yeah,
to find
they
that.
look at the first 4 links. If it isn't
Yup.
what they do, then they forget about
Yup.
what they were searching for, then they go watch more.
Yeah,
Netflix
these monopolies, these companies need to be broken up. It's
Yeah.
quite simple.
Yeah.
Like, these are the solutions we've used before. We need to use them again.
Mhm.
That's exactly why we have these
We need to
implementations in
boycott
our
more stuff.
country.
Boycotts
And boycotts. Boycotts and boycotts.
Everybody
to
needs to
stop
eating
using
fast
Google.
food.
Yeah, for sure. Start using alternatives.
Yeah, stop
shop
using
locally. Stop using Google.
Stop
use
buying
Brave.
Nike so they
Anything.
don't have slave labor over in China.
That's going to be, honestly, that's going to be kind of hard, but you could just buy Shaquille O'Neal shoes.
Yeah, shit, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I wore when I was a kid.
I mean, at least he's a good guy.
Yeah, and he donated
Until-
a bunch of the money to
Yeah.
all the money he made. he
Until
donates.
eventually, 40 or 50 years from now, the same thing happens to that company, and then we just do it all over again. It's just a rinse and repeat. There's no vaccine to this solution.
No,
it's
there's
rinse
not.
and repeat. We just got to keep washing our hands whenever they get dirty.
Yeah. Keep fighting back.
Good way to hurt corporations is to vote with your money. What I
Yeah,
mean by that is
boycotts.
if people just stopped spending money on certain corporations or certain
Mhm.
companies, it would really hurt those companies.
What is it that Tim Pool always what is that site called? It's like the alternative to Amazon. It's a website with a collection of conservative minded businesses.
I don't know. We'll have to.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have to find that out.
Okay.
But it's kind of like an Amazon, or if you were to just Google search, different stores. It's typically family owned and operated stores here in America, owned by people with like-minded
Yeah, like-minded individuals.
individuals.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember him
Our
saying that all the time. I did
morals,
not-
our
I never paid
values.
attention.
Okay.
Yeah, I need to.
So
start
you
using
said the
that.
word conservative, and for some reason it triggered in my brain. I want to know your thoughts on the Q conspiracy.
Oh,
I mean,
QAnon?
QAnon, yeah.
I haven't dived
I
into it. From what
don't
I've seen,
really-
it's kind of crazy.
Okay, yeah. I thought the whole QAnon thing was just complete nonsense and complete bullshit.
Yeah, it
I think
sounded
the-
confusing.
I think the QAnon conspiracy, like I mentioned earlier in this podcast, was one of the fake
Distractions.
conspiracies created by the CIA to lead people down a rabbit hole that goes nowhere. The only thing Q was close on was Pizzagate and them trafficking children.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was the closest thing. That's
Oh.
it.
What was the other one? It wasn't IKEA, but it was the suspiciously expensive
Stuff on Amazon.
and
Oh,
weird
yeah.
description.
Yeah, like an
things for
$11,000 couch.
armoires.
and the
Yeah.
way they were named after, like they gave
Yeah.
these
Stuff
items
like
human
that.
names.
Yeah.
But I think the same
Yeah.
thing can be said about Blue Anon. The
I
opposite.
have no idea what Blue
it's,
Anon is.
It's the inverse of QAnon. It's heavy Democrat conspiracy theories.
That
where,
makes me believe even more the CIA is behind both.
Oh, definitely.
So the whole idea of Donald Trump is not just a Russian asset, but a Soviet Russian asset. Blue Anon.
What do you think of the conspiracy theory that Donald Trump and his family are time travelers?
Never heard such a thing.
Yeah,
That sounds
right.
ridiculous.
So one of the people that raided Tesla's lab, when the FBI went in and raided Tesla's lab, was Donald Trump's uncle.
Nikola Tesla.
Nikola Tesla.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trump's uncle is the one that raided his lab, and apparently Tesla was working on something that was like a time travel device or machine, and apparently the only person with enough knowledge or information to try to work with it or figure it out was Trump's uncle. And that what's that book, that Baron Trump's Journey to
I was
the
gonna say
Underground?
that. Yeah, he becomes
That-
president in like
that-
2040 or something
That
like
book
that.
is a little
And
strange, man.
Hey,
And
when-
they
That was
do talk
interesting.
about
Yo,
that in my
that-
Flower Life
when
book.
That little
2038
motherfucker
comes
looks like he's
around,
on
if he's-
stilts now. Have you seen Baron?
Yeah.
He's like 6'7" now. I'm like, why are you not in the NBA, dude? You could have
Listen,
been. You could have been a killer basketball player.
If 2038 comes around and Barron says I'm running for president,
Then I'm really gonna be like, okay, that conspiracy might have some fucking truth to it. Might.
a lot of people are getting prepped for it because they don't see Barron as like anything bad, and if something ends up happening to Trump, but is he even going to be old enough? Because you have to be
He's
Come 20
15 right now.
I thought he was 17.
Well, yeah, he's
Let's find out.
15, 16,
It's gonna be
17 in that
close.
range. So it'd have to be 20 years from now.
chairs really do suck.
So
Yeah.
after
Yeah, in a week or
while,
two,
yeah.
we're
Oh.
hey, in two, like I said, those chairs,
cheeks hurt.
Yeah, so it'd be like 2040.
those chairs up at Walmart are $60 each, man.
I also got to use the restroom here soon, so hopefully.
So let's find out his
Russ's
age real quick.
phone stopped recording.
Oh, of course it did. It
Probably ran out of space.
maybe.
Let's find out. I mean,
What
we
are
still
we-
got.
We're over 2.5
So, yeah, he's-
hours.
I was about to say, yeah. 'cause
Really?
Hey,
I've
he's-
done this 4 or
hey.
5 times.
Yeah. Thanks,
So-
Jesse.
So I'm assuming it's a half hour.
Yes, it is a half hour.
So
well, mine's
Barron Trump is currently 17,
Okay.
since
So-
mine
And he's
stopped
gotta-
recording,
18 years
one of
from
you
now.
And
has
he's
to
gotta
do the
be-
outro.
2041.
and he's got to be what 35.
35, yeah.
Yeah, one of you guys is definitely gonna have to do the outro then, because this is. Let's see.
All right.
Well, we could just shift the camera to you.
I think it's focused on both of you
One of you.
guys.
Yeah, that's fine.
One of you, be my guest. Do the outro.
Mama Bear needs to use the bathroom.
He will be old enough to run for president in 2041.
Oh, that's pretty close.
Well, it says I
That's
still
very
got
close.
3 gigs. That should be enough. Maybe it just overheated. It does feel not hot.
It may have overheated.
Yeah, my
That's
phone likes to
possible.
do that.
Will it turn back on for you?
I mean, it's
Well, that's
still
still
on.
on.
Yeah, it's still on.
It
I
just-
mean, like the video part.
Oh, to record? Probably should.
Yeah, because we can wrap this up because we're at almost 3 hours here. We're at 2 hours
It's
and
gonna be a long
36
one, then.
minutes.
yeah.
Hey, I like the long ones, long talks. You know,
Yeah, when you talk about 20 conspiracies, each of them take 10 to 15 minutes. He's going on them.
that's a lot.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long one.
All right, so yeah, I guess we'll wrap this up for the day, and not sure what we're going to talk about next week, but we'll leave that as a surprise for now. So we'll figure that out. Is that back recording for you?
I believe so. Yep. Who knows what happened? We'll figure it out.
Probably just overheated. My phone does that too.
Is that bad?
It's on them.
Extra precise.
I'm gonna say, yeah, just leave it because we're
All
wrapping
right,
it up.
thank you guys for tuning in. Russ, I'll let you do the outro with the whole the liking
Yeah.
and the subscribing and the.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this our episode for conspiracy theories. Hopefully, you had some fun. Maybe you have your own. If you do, please share with us. Reach us on Facebook, Twitter. Let us know what you think.
Rumble.
Rumble,
Rum-
YouTube.
Oh yeah, you can come out.
Hopefully
Yeah.
hopefully soon here we're going to be on Spotify as well. I'm going to work on that this week. I had a very, very, very busy weekend, so I wasn't able to really play around with that much. But
We'll get it. Like, share, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, your family. Maybe you know a crazy uncle that's into conspiracies. Have them join us. If you have something interesting that you ever want to talk about, you can probably just reach us on Facebook. Give us a wave. Tell us a little bit about yourself. We may be interested on having you on. We just have conversations.
only if you're interesting.
Yeah, if you're interesting. Don't come on here like, listen, the frogs, they're gay. But yeah,
They are turning freaking.
run
frogs.
through it again one more time. Like, share, subscribe, comment on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify. We will be on Instagram at some point. Probably just project photos and things like that.
Yeah,
We're going to
we
have shorts on
an
Facebook and
Instagram, but-
YouTube. We may be on TikTok. I don't know if any of us here want Chinese spy sauce.
Man,
on
if,
their
if we're
phones,
if we're gonna be on TikTok, I'm gonna have to get a cheap cell
Yeah, we
phone
can just
to
buy
Yeah.
a cheap phone
just
and
for
put it
TikTok.
on Wi-Fi.
plus, we're going to have to do
Yeah.
a lot of bleeping. But,
Yeah.
yeah, come again next week. Thank you.
Birds
Thanks,
Have a good one.
guys.
Birds aren't real.
Well,
Birds
stop.
are real.
Birds aren't
Stop.
real. Fuck out of here.
Can't even.